Everyone, and welcome to the KITN Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Turbo Tony, and this is a brand new gaming podcast on my channel that features all of the kittens in the KITN gaming community. You may be wondering what that was all about, but I'll explain that as we go forward. We've got lots of kittens here for you this week in the inaugural episode of the gaming podcast. We have Chris, we've got Matt, we've got Hayley, and we've got Tom. Say hi, guys.
Hello. Hello, guys.
Very good job. Hi, yes. We hope you guys do enjoy this. It's going to be a regular episodic podcast that happens every Tuesday for you guys, and we're going to cover, each person in the kittens is going to cover one game each week and give you a sort of an overlook of the game, why we play it, what other players have in the kittens community have thought of the game and played, their own experiences, and it's going to be a light-hearted back and forth. We hope you guys do enjoy the show going forward. So, we play just to explain what the kittens are. We are a gaming community. We are a gaming community made up of around about 20 people. We're all friends. We all know each other before. We just banded together and made this. We have a few YouTube channels. Chris has a YouTube channel, which I'll put a link in the description. And I have a YouTube channel as well, which obviously this is what this is going on, so you'll understand that. We play on all platforms, so we play on PC to Xbox. We play other ones as well. They're just the ones I play. I imagine other people play the other platforms. Does anyone here play platforms apart from Xbox and PC?
I do PlayStation.
Well, there you go.
PlayStation every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Android,
so stuff like
Android game.
that. Yeah, I think
and of course Pokemon as well.
Everyone plays Pokemon. Yeah. So we'll also cover the gaming news. We won't be doing that this week because we've got plenty to talk about in the inaugural episode. But if there's any big juicy gaming news, I'll bring that to the guys and we'll talk about that as well going forward. Just the big news. We won't be covering stuff like, well, this game got a mini update. That means nothing. We don't ever play it because what would be the point of covering it? So, with all that going ahead, so new episodes being uploaded every Tuesday. All platforms, all of us be covering a new game every single week. So, exciting stuff for you here. We're going to get introductions underway because we've got 5 of us here this week, but we're going to have new kittens come in each now and then. They'll do the introductions, but because it's the first episode, we'll all introduce ourselves to you guys so you know roughly who we are. I'll go first, just to break the ice, you know. My name is Tony. I am one of the founders of the Kittens clan, the community. I originally created the clan, and we weren't even known as the Kittens of War, which is a very light-hearted name. We were originally something really, really, like, strong, tough. We were the rebellion, and we used to find people that were very antisocial in games and hunt them down and give them a taste of their own medicine, in terms of not shouting obscenities at them, but we would kill them in games and stuff like that. But one night, myself and Matt, who would explain exactly where the name came from, decided that we would have a change. And he decided, I thought it was a joke, and apparently it wasn't. He actually changed the name, and we've been the Kittens of War ever since. So we got fluffy all of a sudden overnight. We got our fur on. The games that I play are Guild Wars 2. I've been recently playing Skyrim and Gotham City Imposters. And yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm the host of the show. Will be every single week. I'm not covering a game this week, but I will do some of the week. So we'll go through the list of who's going to do it. So Tom, introduce yourself.
Right, hello, my name's Tom, otherwise known as T to D. Yeah, this week I'm going to be covering Guns of Icarus, and if you follow Tony's channel, then you've seen quite a few updates for it.
Yeah. I
play predominantly PC, I do a little bit of Xbox, and every once in, as I say, PlayStation 3 and Androids. 360-wise, I play the arcade games, State of Decay, The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us are the ones I'm playing predominantly right now. And PC-wise, I've recently got into Broforce, which is a delightful little bit of fun.
I really want to get Broforce. So
it's amazing.
I've seen you recently posting just like, guys, get Broforce. Okay.
I will say now, if you're playing it on your own, it's a good little bit of fun. You've got about 4 hours worth of game. It's an early release, but I'm not reviewing this right now. I imagine with 4 of us, it will be
bonkers.
A wonderful bit of chaos.
Very good. So we'll move on. Chris, introduce yourself. Chris?
Nice.
Yep.
I've started my own gaming channel a little while back, and I play predominantly on the PC at the moment, but I do switch on to my Xbox every so often, which I'm hopefully going to get a capture card for soon, because epicness. I mainly play horror games mostly these days, though I've got into Portal, and I play a lot of first-person shooter games, and also a lot of strategy games as well. And I love my role play games like Skyrim and Fable and all that good stuff. So yeah, I've been part of the Kitten clan for a little while now. Shortly after Tony and Matt got it all together, like me and Tom got into it pretty quickly. And
when I got into it.
We've started playing a lot more collaboration stuff on the PC over recent months, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's good to be in touch with each other and have a format so we can share games with each other and go, oh, this is fucking epic, play this shit.
Yeah, games are always better playing with someone else. I always find that formula. Like, yeah, a game like sometimes like a game like Skyrim, you can't play with someone else, but if you've got someone else there, it always makes the game great if you can play it multiplayer.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah. So Hayley, introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Hayley. My Steam name is Hey Swanboat because it's why not? I became a kitten quite recently. It was a shock. It was after a game of surviving zombies on Left 4 Dead. We slaughtered so many, had many laughs, and then all the guys were like, "Hey, we can make Hayley a kitten." I was like,
And it happened.
One of us.
It's ironic you would say that about a zombie game, and it's like we assimilated you into our clan, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it happened.
I think that's how we do it. We get someone takes in a friend, and suddenly it's just like you're one of us now. You survived your trial of fire.
Cannot escape.
But I play predominantly PC at the moment, which is quite a recent conversion. I also play Xbox and PS3. And I'm a bit of a nostalgia gal. I tend to I miss the old days, the old games, like Suikoden 2 and Pokemon. I'm playing Pokemon today, caught Zapdos and Articuno.
Oh, props.
Yeah. Went through 99 Ultra Balls, but I did it. So.
99 Ultra Balls, did you just say?
That's a dedication, yeah.
She's just sitting there going, fuck you, I will have you, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's it.
One day you will be
Stubborn.
mine.
Okay, is that you? Yeah, that's all. Okay, so Matt, introduce yourself.
Well, as I said, I'm Matt, one of the originals of the Rebellion. And yes, okay, I may have created the Kittens of War name.
You did.
Okay, we were playing Call of Duty back in the day of young and sort of Call of Duty on the 360, but it worked, and you can't deny that, Tony. That we will. The moment we turn around and say, "In the name of Fluffy Kittens, we will win this," and we won game after game.
We suddenly did. Yeah, it was quite odd.
And it wasn't. I was not the one that officially changed it.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
I pitched the idea. But yeah, I mean, I'm predominantly PC and 360. And even though I'm covering it today, mostly because as of late I've discovered a new love for XCOM, and sort of either whether it's the turn-based strategy or the RTS factor of it, I predominantly play quite a few RTS games. But then I also like stupid games and roleplay and sort of more MMOs. I'm with Tony on Guild Wars 2. But then also role-playing games, Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim are currently the two that are going through at the moment. Even if Skyrim's getting a little neglected right about now.
You've abandoned it for the Vegas Strip, you heathen.
But then I've abandoned that for everything else, so it's not going too well for both.
The Greybeards of High Hrothgar will be very displeased with you. That's all I can say.
That'll do, right?
Dragons tearing up the landscape, and where are you, Matt?
Yeah, exactly.
Where am I? Commanding forces against aliens.
Some odd, multiverse sort of stuff going on there. Awesome. So yeah, okay. So that's all of us there. So you got a brief introduction of what we all are and who we are. So basically, just to remind everyone that we are going to cover a game each week. I won't be covering a game some of the weeks because, as I said, I'm hosting. But every single kitten that will be joining us will be covering their own game, and we get roughly about 30 minutes to talk about that game, talk about the news. We're going to talk about the publishers, developers, and how the game came to us. And if any of us have played the same game, which is likely, we're not talking about very obscure ones by any means, but we'll weigh in as we go on from there. So yeah, we hope you guys do enjoy the show. We're going to begin with Guns of Icarus. This is Tom's pick for the week. Guns of Icarus is a game that we only know because you really got us into it. So I think it's only apt really that you take it away, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, Steam sale. It was 75% off. They do really good deals by the by, people of YouTube. Yeah, so I just bought a 4-pack and got everyone involved and a few additional packs for everyone else. But yes, Guns of Icarus is a steampunk themed multiplayer first person shooter video game developed and published by Muse Games. It's the world it's set is post-apocalyptic, similar to this one after the Great War of 1914. Just to give you a bit of background history, but that's all I can tell you really. Afterwards, it went downhill. Environments and everything went to hell. The game itself focuses on teamwork and airship combat. On board of the airship, you take 3 roles: pilot, gunner, and engineer.
You're not joking about teamwork, by the way. If you, that's the
Yeah.
one game I played in recent memory.
It goes wrong.
Yeah, it's really confined because you're on you're all on a tiny airship, and you really do need to work together. You need to talk to each other. Communication is essential. If you've got 4 people playing different roles, you need to know everything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you have one
So,
person not doing their role, I find that game that you will get punished for it, like really badly.
So no, you're not just pitted against other players who form teams, but you're pitted against the environment, visibility, and weather effects as well. The amount of times clouds have rolled in and found us find our stuff just going absolutely to hell, right?
Everything's broken. That's all I keep saying.
Why did you piloted into this black grey cloud? I don't know.
Suddenly-
Just a
Wait a
potato.
minute. Yeah. Is that a cloud? It's fine. There's nothing on the other side of this cloud. It's a mountain. Whack. Ah.
Oh, I hate those mountains. But yeah, Guns of Icarus Online was developed by Muse Games, an indie studio set in New York. Guns of Icarus was actually online. Even came after Guns of Icarus, the first one, and they started looking for publishers to get Guns of Icarus online, and they found one in Taiwan. However, as they continued to work, the publisher wouldn't honour their original contract, forcing Muse into a compromise, which they started bending over backwards for. They developed a prototype within 5 months. However, the publisher, wanting to squeeze as much out of Muse as possible, denied their prototype, saying that, oh no, you haven't met up, we're not happy with what you're doing, we want more features, we want more, and looking for stuff that just was totally unreasonable for something to produce in 5 months. So yeah, they said, you can have another crack at it, but you're taking a reduced pay.
Oh wow!
And they said, all right, fine. They said, fine, we'll go with it, but it was starting to wear on them. And then eventually the R&D department, the marketing people, turned around and said, yeah, we like what you're doing, post-apocalyptic steampunk gritty realism, real proper body proportions. But what do you think of this? And presented ideas of bright colours, anime characters with big heads, and anime cat girls with exposed cleavages.
Barbie figures, basically.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, trying to appeal to the Asian demographic, like Miyazaki, only if he completely whored himself out.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's nothing new that publishers have. I mean, the reason why publishers are there is that they basically fund these games, don't they? And a lot of the times you hear a lot of stories. I think one of the ones that comes back to is Dragon Age 2, where they were given like a shockingly short development time to create that game, but because they got EA's like foot on their neck, they have to pump this game out. It seems like to this, they wasn't so much that, but they're forcing them to go into creative differences, which is a completely different sort of aspect to it.
Mm.
It was just completely different to their original vision, and
Yeah.
eventually the CEO of Muse, or the head developer, or whoever it was, had a long meeting, and basically they turned around and said, look, basically you take reduced pay, you do what we tell you, and you like it.
Sounds like they were pimps, basically.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
Do my work, my bitches.
But yeah, Muse opted out and said, you know what, no, this isn't working for us. This is not what we wanted. You're taking us in a direction we're not going. This is just, no, we're opting out. And then the publisher came back and said, well, if you don't mind, would you object terribly if we copied your game and sold it ourselves?
Oh wow!
Yeah, they really, and
You cheeky bastards.
they almost lost, to say Muse, they almost lost everything. They even almost lost their intellectual property. So then they had to start fresh again, completely from scratch, working overtime to rebuild Guns of Icarus Online, and they actually had to rely on funding from their own families. I mean, as I say, the head guy, actually, his parents took a second mortgage out on their house just to help fund him. I
Well,
don't know if it was something along those lines, but yeah, it took family savings and everything just to get a successful launch of their game.
Oh Jesus! So they really put everything on. It's not just like their actual vision that they're putting on the line. It's their livelihoods when it gets to that point.
And then they went for
put life on the line.
And their family's livelihoods.
Yeah.
and they went for a success. They launched a Kickstarter project which raised over $10,000 to partially fund the development, and they managed to they subsequently received. It says here $35,238 at the close of their bidding in 21st of February 2012. So then they managed to work with that and launch their game on the October 29th, 2012, which you meteorologists will remember is the same weekend Hurricane Sandy hit New York.
Oh wow! Talk about timing.
Wonderful timing. So, but their studios flooded, and it was forced into a lockdown. They couldn't get in. They couldn't update their servers. They couldn't get their fixes out.
Wait, they were launching the game when this happened?
Yeah, people were playing the game. They launched the game, and then they had to keep it up, otherwise it would flounder and fail.
Oh wow!
So Muse had to break into their own studios to maintain the servers and get a model out to another developer to help them out.
That's dedication to their cause. Really.
I've got nothing but admiration and respect for Muse games. They are absolute troopers, and they actually do really listen to their community as well, and even taking time to engage their community. Because every once in a while the developers battle with the community.
Yeah, which we tried to once.
That's true.
Which
we
really
did try. But,
it didn't work. But
I imagine they're very busy people.
We're going to try again later. We're going to try again. But I'm trying to remember how I got into Guns of Icarus. I think it was out of the blue, watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Markiplier. Look him up if you don't know him. It was a first person field of view, and he was just playing it. And I was just looking at this and just thinking, this looks amazing. Because normally I'm a solitary type of gamer. I don't usually play online if I can help it. I only play with people I know or people I can slap.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of Mass Effect multiplayer, because it's just four of you and you're all working together and
working towards a common goal, sort of thing.
I like cooperation rather than conflict, because I get a greater sense of accomplishment rather than just running around shooting people in the face. I like to run around with people shooting each other in the face.
Well, that's like the interesting part about Guns of Icarus is that it wouldn't have been a game that I ideally would have looked at, but once you get into it, I mean, because the cooperation is key, that's also where a lot of the fun aspect of it is.
If it's people you know, people you like, then you just really pull together, don't you?
Yeah, I mean,
I played it on my own, and more often than not, it flounders a little bit. I try occasionally talk to people, but it's literally just burst sentences. Keep on that balloon, Roger Wilco, and that's it.
Yeah. Which, if anyone watched the videos on my channel, you know that we're always talking to each other or going mental about all the stuff.
I was going to say, you can't keep quiet on that one.
No, you can't.
So although once we all it was us three against just Tom and your own, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And we still lost, didn't we?
Well, mind you, that was the Thunder Child, and you guys were piloting. What were you piloting? A Junker or something?
I think so. Yeah. So you can't beat the Thunder
Morgan,
Child.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all got this game. I know that all of us actually in this chat have got this game. I haven't played something like this before. So, Chris, have you played anything like this before? Because I can't remember any game like this. It's quite unique in that sense.
Mm.
It is very unique, and it does actually show from what Tom said about the developers going through pretty dire straits to get this one out. It does actually show in the game, because you can tell there's quite a lot of care into it. It is a little bit clunky in some places, but then again, it is it's still a very beta release, and they are releasing more and more patches. And Tom was saying that they'll be coming up with a campaign.
Oh yeah, it's a separate bit of DLC, adventure mode, which instead of your standard skirmish, it is like almost like a standard MMORPG. You just start off, work together, form communities to manufacture your resources to build up your fleets.
Yeah,
you can work out any way. You can form guilds, you can form clans, or you can even work as mercenaries for bigger organisations than you, which is what I imagine we'll be doing.
I think the only other game I've ever played that even comes close to this kind of thing is, as you guys have pointed out, the Mass Effect multiplayer where you're forced to work as a team. Yes, there are team aspects in other multiplayers, like say for instance COD or Halo, but it's very rare you'll actually find anyone actually working as a team.
Yeah, on that game you can go Maverick, can't you? And it won't matter.
Yeah. You might occasionally get a few dudes who are actually working as a team, but the rest of your team just run around acting like a douchebag.
It's you either work together or you just fail miserably.
Yeah.
I found that when I did a couple of test runs of it on my own, and I thought I'll jump into it before we play it online just to see how it handles. And I jumped into a couple of random games that it was just absolute mayhem trying to because no one else on the boat I was on actually had it like a mic or anything like that, so we couldn't communicate with each other, and we were trying to type in the chat box while playing, which was a nightmare.
It's just something that can't be done though, because there's chances like everything's going to hell around you. It's like wait 2 seconds and trying to type away.
I'm quite interested, right? So for games like this, it's still relatively like a team-based game. There's still first-person combat. It reminds me a lot as playing as a chief engineer, as playing as a medic in Team Fortress 2. That's the kind of the same sort of style of play, but that's just for that class. So Hayley, I don't know whether you play many games like this, but I know you've played with us and you had a good time. What is different about this game that kind of will draw you in than other games? Maybe not in the same genre, obviously, but in this sort of action skirmish multiplayer sort of aspect.
Well, I've never really been a multiplayer person, especially not online. Because it's a completely new concept to me, so it's a very different experience going on it. It is really interesting, but just thinking about the artist style is beautiful and stunning. It actually reminds me of Final Fantasy IX as well, with the airships and the environment with the mist. Yeah. Sorry,
I never thought of that myself, but I'm a big Final Fantasy IX fan. You're quite right.
Well, it's the best Final Fantasy IX game. Final Fantasy game, sorry.
I feel like a bit of a heathen, but I've never played Final Fantasy games. I feel like an absolute heathen.
It's all right. I barely touched it either, Chris.
Chris drops the first bombshell on the Kittens Gaming podcast.
Oh, I'm such a disgrace.
This is where O Fortuna starts playing in, and you see Chris' picture just turning to red.
Just fades away. So yeah.
I don't know what I was saying.
Final Fantasy IX.
Well, the artist style, it reminds me, and it just brings home that little feel of nostalgia. And it's refreshing as well, because it's something that that isn't seen very often, because it is usually bright colours and all realism. You're in this environment now, and you don't get many just unique ideas anymore. And
so when it focuses on realism, it tends to go for like Call of Duty, modern warfare, future warfare,
realistic blood.
If there was ever a theme that was overdone, it's the modern military shooter. I don't think anyone can do that.
Let's go back to Nazis. I really miss the Nazis.
That's why we enjoy stuff
like Advanced Warfare, which is like Titanfall's version of it's Call of Duty's version of Titanfall, basically. If you look at it. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, is this Titanfall? Oh no, it's Call of Duty.
Oh, what, the new one? I think the new one looks pathetic, just like a big old mashup of everything.
Yeah. Even more absurd than Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
I think the last Call of Duty I enjoyed was Modern Warfare 3. I tried Black Ops and I couldn't get into it. I couldn't muster any care. I couldn't care about anything or anyone. With these generic white bastards turning up, and they were just spouting exposition, and I just thought, I don't know you. I don't care about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just generic 40-something white American veteran.
Exactly.
With grizzled voice, you know.
That's it.
Fighting people who aren't American, and I'm just sitting here as a British man thinking, how long before you turn on me, mate?
Well, that's an interesting point, because there isn't a storyline at present with Guns of Icarus online, is there?
Yeah.
But I think that actually interestingly, the bond between the groups actually is a story of its own.
You're quite right, because like there's some games that in the gameplay the story, like, it creates stories. I think XCOM, which Matt is covering at the end, has the same thing where you make your own characters' names. Sometimes they die and you get emotionally involved. I think Guns of Icarus has that as well. Like, the story is in the gameplay rather than like all these tons and tons of F&B.
It doesn't need
They are planning to implement some.
So immersive.
Yeah.
So Guns of Icarus, they're actually planning to implement factions to go with the adventure mode, different kingdoms and organizations.
Tell us about adventure mode. What can we expect out of the update that that incorporates the game that we have now into something more PvE style?
Let me see. They don't have a lot about it because they are still developing it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost my page now. Professional, this shows how professional I am, doesn't it?
It's okay.
When you think about adventure in Guns of Icarus, you'd think it would be a solo thing, but it'd be difficult. But it in itself, it's not a solo game, is it?
I don't think it can work as a solo. Not anymore. I know that they released Guns of Icarus before as their own, but I think now they've got the multiplayer. If you take that out, that's one of the shining lights of that game. I really do believe that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so adventure mode, it's a persistent world roleplay / adventure mode, which is the future expansion. It will add an expansive world map and deep player progression, including towns, trading, crafting, and factions. As I say, that's all I can really tell you right now.
It looks like they're going for a fully fledged. They have said that it's along the lines that you can still run with your teammates, though, can't you? Like it's still,
it is.
Yeah.
So you can't really lose that. I mean, that's part of the reason why people get into Guns of Icarus. If you suddenly turn around and just say no, you can't play with others, that people are just
you can't play with your friends. It's like
the community is suddenly going to go, what?
That's my point. You can't play solo either, though.
There's no offline mode and there's no single player. No.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of that. I mean, like when I heard about adventure mode, all I could think of was the four of us docking into a city, going out talking to NPCs, getting quests. All of us grouping up together, saying, "Oh, let's go do this quest." But I got this quest from this guy. That's closer. Okay, we'll go do that quest first. We all go off. We go and do these things. Oh wait, there's another ship over there that's suddenly come out of the range. There's so many like things that you could do, like random like aerial battles, and like just stuff that happens along those lines. The potential is limitless. It's just whether they can actually do it or not.
I could actually see it if that were the case. That's developing into a proper crew. You mean you have the captain, you have the quartermaster who keeps on top of. Imagine with a crew that small, you probably have to confine those roles, I suppose. But no, you could just see everyone taking a role, can't you? You've got the leader, you've got the guy who scouts around, someone who's master of logistics, someone who's the navigator.
Yeah.
You can just see it really developing into everyone having their own special role. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would. Obviously, a lot of we can say about this is the dream scenario of what this game can do. It'd be interesting when they actually launch adventure mode. I know that all of us will more than likely get it because we were so surprisingly shocked of how good it was. And I would say to anyone out there who has as a group that could fill up 4, this is a game that you should definitely get. And the deal was ridiculously low, wasn't it? I think it was like a couple of, well, for over here it was like a couple of euro, and that was about it.
Yeah, even if you're just a single player who just makes 3 friends is basically the point. Get 3 friends, play this game. I strongly recommend. Oh, Reddit point. We made a discussion, us as Kittens, that boarding should be added to the game.
Yeah. I think Chris was the one who advocated this mostly, weren't you?
I did, yeah, because I wanted to jump onto a ship and mess people up.
You just want to be Errol Flynn, don't you?
I do. I want to swing out with a cutlass between my teeth.
You want to be all swashbuckling on us, Chris. We know it's your true desires.
Is it like Assassin's Creed 4?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So the Muse did actually answer this, and they said no, and it's not a decision they came to lightly. I'm quoting here. Less is more, and when it comes to boarding, we know it's true. Boarding and ship-to-ship combat are pretty distinct mechanics that have different sets of properties. Boarding at its core is more frames per second or merely frames per second, and they're more individualistic in nature. What they're trying to do is focus the game on team play, cooperation, and ship-to-ship combat. So with limited resources, they really had to focus on that as the core of the game.
I do agree. I actually agree in that. So the way they worded that is like, basically what you're going to have is, if they were to have boarding in the game, you're going to have some people that get really good at boarding, and all their ship is going to do is just get right close up to you so they can board, and that's going to be the only aspect of their gameplay. So it's not going to be about how good they are working as a team. It's just, we're going to run into you and we're going to jump onto your ship and do you in, essentially.
And I imagine from
all the more complicated as well, because you've got to take into account the factors of speed, acceleration, maneuverability, armor, health, layout, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then you've got to consider that for the individual.
Yeah, that's it.
You've got to keep it as battling Megazords.
Yeah.
Working together.
They're just.
Yeah. Well, I imagine from the
Nerd.
perspective of
Power
like a
Rangers
fairly
nerd.
small studio and then like a small development team, coding and programming that while also doing the normal game as well would be an absolute fucking nightmare, and it would
Wow.
be glitchy as shit, and it would never settle right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something they might consider in the future. I don't know, but I think it's something they're very, very concerned about.
In terms of balancing more than adding things into the game, I that's what I would think. If I was a developer, I'd worry about balancing. That's what.
Like,
Yeah.
just this is a quote as well. Another one. Just implementing boarding is one thing. Implementing boarding and actually doing it well is another. And we considered everything. We felt that in order to do everything really, really, really well, it would probably cost us 3 to 5 times the effort, and they just couldn't afford it. If they were EA, they would create Battlefield and it might work, but they're not EA, so they have to focus their attention on particular areas.
Yeah.
They probably have
to
like
push the envelope on team play, and that's what they did.
I think another problem would be the fact that if you had like a team pitched against one team's like just pretty much dedicated themselves to just boarding actions, the other one's team sort of dedicated themselves for defense. The boarding team's going to have all the advantage because they're going to take the quickest little shit, get right in there, and before anyone's even turned around, they've gone right, got it.
Yeah. And it's not even tactical at that point, is it? Between
Launch
two
in like
guys, yeah.
tick.
Yeah, I agree. So, is there any other platforms that... I mean, we got this all on Steam, and I firmly believe that this is a game that you could port very easily onto consoles just because it's on a first-person track and you can cycle through your stuff pretty easy. Is it coming to anything else?
It's funny you mentioned they're actually planning to implement it for the PlayStation 4.
Oh, well, I don't have a PS4,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still good.
For people who have PS4s, it's very exciting.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds cool. So they should get a lot of money for that. I say, I won't be able to play it on the PS4, but from the money they get from that, could just it could like fizzle its way into our PC version, and that way everything gets better from there on out. So
That's very true. That's very true. I mean,
Only up from
they
here.
do actually have other means of income besides buying the game itself, because they do have such a low price. They do have cosmetic store, buy items to just improve the look of you, so you can make up your ship to have you want. Like have some beautiful trader that travels all around the world, or some steam pipe monstrosity, or even just something with royal flags or anything. Make up your pilots and engineers in any way you see fit. Give them goggles, fancy hats, like the top hat.
yeah, I
And
think the golden word with it though is that it's microtransactions. But when that word gets floated around a lot, people go, "Oh, okay, it's
Yeah, but
pay to
let's say
win."
They've addressed that concern because it's purely cosmetic. It's not pay to win. It's just you're buying cosmetics. And
Yeah.
a lot of games do it. I mean, Guild Wars 2 does it, doesn't it, Tony?
Yeah, it does. Well, sometimes it goes somewhere along. I'll obviously go through this when I eventually cover Guild Wars 2, which will be a very lengthy episode. But a lot of the stuff there will be like weapon skins. In fact, Matt bought one recently, so not weapon skins. Yeah, you can get weapon skins and stuff. But
So
like,
that's exactly it.
yeah,
Skins for your players,
They don't
skins
do
for your
weapon
ship.
skins, but
yeah, you
mostly
can get.
armor skins on Guild Wars.
The only other thing that Guild Wars 2 gives, which maybe Guns of Icarus doesn't, is that it's quality of life extras. So maybe it'll give you like an extra character slot if you pay a little bit extra. But all this can be bought with in-game money as well. So it's not as if it's... I've never spent a single penny outside of Guild Wars 2 other than buying the game first off. And I've got loads of stuff out of the store because you can get it with in-game money. So
Yeah, because
You
you
can
just
actually
transfer
unlock
folders to gems.
cosmetic stuff for yourself and your ship just by playing the game and progressing through, getting yourself little achievements.
Yeah, which I find quite nice as well, because when games have a system like that, everything you can unlock you have to pay for. Whereas in this game, they've got like you get badges which you can then use to unlock hats and dyes and stuff like that, which is nice because it gives you a sense of achievement for getting that.
And a little
You
bit of
actually get a physical
individuality.
thing to put on your dude. It's like, look what I got. Boof.
Suddenly that little hat is that much more special to you because you've earned it by the sweat of your brow.
Yeah. I mean, because any idiot can actually, just go through the microtransaction and buy this really cool thing. But if you get it through playing the game and playing it well, it means that little bit more.
Yeah, with Tom with his top hat,
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That hat.
Okay, is there anything else you want to cover with Guns of Icarus, or have you roughly covered it? I think you covered it pretty well there, Tom.
I believe that's excessively it. Told you about the development law, what they've been through, the game itself. Yeah, buy it, play it, make friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes we might be covering games on this. on this podcast that we don't actually recommend you buy, but Guns of Icarus definitely is a good start for ones that you should buy, and I definitely do agree. I think it's a worthy spend of your time.
It is a Kitten approved game.
Yeah. Now, if you are a solo gamer, then maybe not. That's the only thing I would say. That it is meant for 4 players, and sometimes you might not. If you don't make friends easy in playing games, or you don't like interacting with people in games, this is definitely not the game for you. You need to be able to talk to your team. Yeah. So yeah, there's a little bit of warning for anyone solo wanting to buy that. So we'll move on. Tom, you did a great job breaking the ice. You'll be a footnote in history forever as the first person that did covered a game on the Kittens gaming podcast. There you go. That you'll be with that forever.
I want period painting painted of me now. Just over in the guild hall,
straddling a lion.
big fat penguin.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to Chris, who is our resident horror games expert. For anyone who's seen his videos, he does a lot of horror games. You can actually subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description, and actually put a link to his channel on his face, on his little marker on the thing as well, so you can click on that.
So touch his face.
Click. Stroke his face so well. He'll like it. He really will.
Click the nose. It's big enough.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, it's not that big. Lovely nose.
So snowplow. Let's be honest.
So you're going to cover Amnesia: Dark Descent, the horror game that I believe, in terms of popularity, I never played it, but in terms of popularity, especially on YouTube, gave a much needed fresh air to horror games on very least the PC. So go ahead. Take it away.
It is, yeah. Well, yeah, as Tony said, I'm doing Amnesia: The Dark Descent, one of the most critically acclaimed horror games to come out over since 10 years, really.
Yeah.
It it was released on September 8th, 2010, and got retailed on February 17th, 2011, and since then it has grown in popularity exponentially. It was made by it's developed by Frictional Games and published by Frictional Games and THQ. They did the retail. Thomas Grip and Jens Nilsson, if I'm reading that right. I think I got his name wrong when I did my one as well. They both designed the game. The writer was Mikael Hidberg. No idea where he's from. And the composer is Mikko Tarmia, who I have to say, that guy nailed it with the music. Absolutely got it dead spot on. Even before, I didn't count the monster in Amnesia: The Dark Descent for a good 20-30 minutes of the game. But just the atmosphere and the music and the general set environment is so good that you're thoroughly creeped out from the second you enter into it. And it's such a well-constructed horror game. And considering it was only made on the HPL Engine 2, which is a fairly bog-standard one, like the Cry engine or the engine that was used to build Half-Life.
Yeah.
It's still really, really good. And it's such a good-looking game for quite a small development company. And because this wasn't a AAA title, this was a small independent studio that had real success with games like Penumbra and the games that were spawned out of that. Because Penumbra also has become quite a phenomenon as well, and that's from Frictional Games, and they thought, well, that's done pretty well. Let's make another game like this, but add in a few extra tweaks to it. And they won 2 awards from the Independent Games Festival for it. It was originally released as a downloadable game, but there's a company in Russia, a few in Eastern Europe, and THQ in North America saw the potential of this game and thought, right, we need to bunch it all together, because it was originally 5 just different stories. We need to bunch it all together, make it into a game, get it out there on Steam. And for the price you pay for it on Steam, it's well worth your money.
How much is it on Steam, roughly, now?
I got it in sale for £5.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I picked it up for a steal, and it's the story of it is actually really, really good, and the way the story progresses is quite good as well. Because sometimes in a horror game, it's just you are faceless protagonist A. There's the monster, kill it, get to point B. Yeah, you win. But,
it's formulaic.
It's and it's fairly linear, and you know exactly what you've got to do. I don't want to accuse Dead Space of this because I quite like Dead Space, but Dead Space kind of has that very linear A to B setting, even though I think they did horror pretty well until they hit number 3 and fucked it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
which is like the general consensus around everyone. I actually have Dead Space 3, just because I got it in like a humble bundle, but I've never played it because people are like, oh no, you have to play 1 and 2 because the third one's garbage.
It is not a bad game. I wouldn't say it's a bad game. It's just a bad horror game.
Oh, okay. So it's more
Absolutely.
action.
Yeah. I mean, like if it was a standalone game, it would probably be fine. The mechanics, like the shooting mechanics, are a little bit wonky, but then they're wonky in all 3 of the games. But it's not a bad game. The story behind it is actually quite good, and it's not that bad. But it's just the way they set it up that makes it a bad horror game. I mean, it's meant to be a dark horror game on an ice planet.
Yeah.
It don't work.
So you're
It
saying
just made
that?
it generic as anything, and then it just really cheapened the whole experience.
Yeah.
So you're saying that in terms of atmosphere and like the general horror feel, that as much as Dead Space 3 had like all this huge development and 2 games to precede it, Amnesia has it basically just slammed in terms of atmosphere.
Yeah. Amnesia just knocks it straight out of the park. It goes, ha, I see you with your necromorphs and your fancy graphics and your suit and your guns, and I smash you with a bat and fuck you up with a big ass monster.
All gangster leaning back while it does it, you know?
Yeah.
So imagine.
I got a big monster, see? You ain't got nothing, see? But yeah, I mean, it's so good. I mean, and I actually think they got the monster design down very well, because there's something that I hold to in horror games. The more human your monster looks from a distance, the more effective it is if it's messed up close. I mean, something like a big, massive, morphed out necromorph that's mutated and looks like an absolute monstrosity is less threatening than something that looks human but messed up enough up close to freak you out.
Yeah.
I think it's probably because from a distance you just look at that and just think, yeah, that's fucked up. I'm going nowhere near that.
Yeah, and then it just gets worse as it gets closer, and you're like, no, I don't even want any more part of this. Just go away.
And that is exactly like the grunt when you first see it, because you see it kind of off in the distance, and it's like, what the fuck is that?
Who's that?
Yeah, and you just see it as kind of like a little bit misshapen but recognizably human shape, and then it just turns and starts lurching towards you deceptively quickly. Actually, it actually took me by surprise how fast that fucker can move, and yeah, because I just ran up a corridor a little bit, turned around, and he was pretty much straight behind me with that fucked up, dislocated, stretched out jaw, the fucked up eyes. It's just, it like he just gets right up close to you and bitch slaps you. It is not good.
I'll tell you what, as a writer, I recognise that as it's gaining your trust from a distance, and you think, oh, it's something recognisable, something you understand. But when it comes closer, it becomes something that you don't understand, and it's human nature to fear and want to, either destroy or run away from something that humans don't understand.
It plays with your expectations a little bit as well.
Yeah. That's where the best monsters and the best.
That's the word.
Yeah, that's where the best monsters come in. Is it's something that you can relate to as a human, but it's still messed up enough to mess with your mind. Because if you recognize it off at a distance, or you recognize it as being human, and then suddenly it changes, it fucks with your mind, it like jars your perception.
I think that's a few nightmares.
Run away.
Which is pretty much essential for any horror game. Like you need to a lot of horror games that this. I don't play many horror games now, but the last best one that I played, and this is years ago, is Silent Hill 2. And I remember there's a bit in that game where like it fools you, because like sometimes it makes you think that you're gonna get scared and you don't, and it makes sometimes think that you're gonna get scared and you do. You know, it keeps toying with you all the time. Silent Hill 2. It sounds like this has got a lot of that, where sometimes you might open a door, you think, oh, I might get scared, and it's not there, but then you look around another door and then you will get scared, sort of thing. It's the unpredictability of it.
Well, yeah, they do that with background noise a lot in Amnesia as well, and that's where they've hit it. Like, there's so many things about this game where they've just hit it dead on, and you can tell with there were some big horror game fans working on this, because it takes a good horror game fan to make a good horror game, which is why the indie horror game genre has picked up so much over the last few years. Ever since Amnesia was done on YouTube by loads of big YouTubers, so indie developers have gone, well, I'll send them my game, see what they think about it. Like SCP, for instance, like that was just like a small group of people. Slenderman was like 3 dudes in a shed that fucking designed that shit.
That makes it sound really sordid. 3 dudes in a shed designing Slenderman.
That's the start of a bad story.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, take Slenderman for instance. The first release of that, it was low res. It was wonky as hell. The mechanics of it was wonky. It didn't look good. But
It wasn't
the
so much
whole
a game as it was a time sink, was it?
Yeah, but the whole atmosphere of the game gets to you so much that as soon as like the really low res, fairly bog standard Slender Man pops up behind you, it freaks you out.
Yeah.
And it does that in Amnesia as well. They create such a good atmosphere just with the background noise and the little effects as well. And they actually play up to it. The lower your sanity gets, because they've got the sanity mechanic in it, which I never encountered in a game before, and it's something I really had to adjust to while I was playing. If you stand in the dark for too long, your sanity gets lower. Or if you see the monster, your sanity gets lower. Or if you see something messed up, which pops up in the game every so often, your sanity gets lower.
He needs a nightlight. He needs a nightlight. Done.
Yeah.
No horror. Amnesia's done. That's it. All done.
Well, the lower your sanity gets, the more pronounced the background noises become. And there's like slight little trickery they do with the camera. You can't see it much in my playthrough because I always made sure that my sanity was up high because I didn't want to have to deal with that shit. But yeah, there's little background noises, and I don't know if you full on hallucinate, but they do like little kind of almost photographic like trickery with it, where you think you see something for like half a frame. It's just enough to register in your mind, but not enough for you to actually be convinced you saw something.
Yeah.
And like that really, really messes with you. And all the little background noises as well. You open a door and something goes boom. Then the other end of the corridor, you're like, what the fuck? Was that a threat or was that just a noise? And then you go to check it out, and it was just a noise or just something falling off a shelf. And you're like, okay, that's fine.
Check yourself.
Open the door again, and the grunt's standing there like, sup, bro? Bam!
Well, I know that
You say my name.
I know that you're a big fan of horror games, there, Chris. But I know that Matt isn't a fan of horror games. He doesn't play horror games at all. What is the reason why you wouldn't take to a horror game? I know some people just enjoy getting the jumps and stuff. So what turns you away from horror games, Matt? Why wouldn't you play Amnesia?
I generally don't play horror games. I think it's simply because my imagination can fuck with me the best of times.
Yeah.
Without a horror game put in.
Without a horror game, I can fuck myself up. Sort of thing.
The best horror game is the one that makes you scare yourself. The one that just says, "Imagine how this can go."
Yeah, it's the same on sort of like films and that lot. It's like I generally find the psychological ones that just are the worst sort of thing. But no, I've never seen the appeal for it. Of sort of just like, let's just like get the headset on, turn all the other sounds off, all the lights off, and let's just shit myself in front of the TV, in front of my monitor.
Yeah.
It's just, I'll pass.
You're not a glutton for punishment in that sense, you know.
No.
See, with me, I'm like kind of in the middle when it comes to horror games. Like, I don't play a lot. I haven't actually played Amnesia myself. I've watched Chris's playthrough of it, but I haven't played it myself. And the last horror game I played, as I said, was Silent Hill 2, bar the Stop It Slenderman episodes that we've done. So like I'm kind of in the middle. But like Chris, you eat that stuff up. You like I know Amnesia isn't the only horror game that you've played. I know you're covering the game now, but some people just do enjoy getting themselves scared. Is that the part of Amnesia that you enjoy? The is it like the atmosphere, or do you enjoy being scared as a person, as a gamer?
Well, I think I enjoy being scared as well, because I also like horror films as well. I enjoy the sense in a game. It's like, I mean, I'm really critical when it comes to horror games. If I'm not like kind of, immersed in the game, and I'm not a little bit nervous about playing in about the first 5 minutes of a horror game, I'll just stop playing it because it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Which is why Amnesia tied me into it very well, because the setup for it is really good. When you first get into it, the first few areas you walk through are quite good as well, even if you do randomly fall over a couple of times for no apparent reason, which I thought was a bit weird. But it's very good at tying you in. It's got a good immersive atmosphere, and I think that the hallmark of a good horror game is that you get to the point where you don't want to progress in the game because you're scared of what's around the next corner, or you're standing in front of a door going, "No, I don't want to fucking open that. It's going to be stabbed at the fucking door. I don't want to just." And you kind of have to force yourself to get over the fear to open the door.
Which connects you to the character a bit much, because you imagine that character
exactly.
that you're playing as is just obviously shitting himself the same as you are, so it kind of immerses you into that blank slate as a character.
I mean, there's a couple of big plot twists in this game as well. I didn't expect the story in this to be quite as immersive and quite as twisty as it was, because, a basic synopsis of like the first half an hour is that, you wake up in a room, you have no memory of what has just happened to you. All that you know is you've woken up in this really creepy ass castle, and you should probably get the fuck out.
Which anyone's
Would you
first
say
thought.
he had amnesia?
Oh!
Yeah, and it turns out that you've taken and you find notes along the way which, you know, kind of describe what happened to the character in his early years, and that he went into this tomb, found this orb, and just death has been following him ever since, picking people off from his life. And he turns to this guy, Alexander, in desperation to try and stop what's happening to him, because people around him are just dying. He goes to a doctor to find out what's happening to him. He goes home, the doctor's dead the next day for no apparent reason.
Oh, wow.
Everyone around him starts dying, and he's just like going out of his mind trying to figure out what's happening to him. He goes to this guy Alexander, and this guy Alexander is like, yes, I can help you. Turns out Alexander's already been doing this kind of thing for a little while, including capturing this guy named Agrippa.
This isn't major spoilers, is it, for anyone that hasn't played the game?
Oh yeah, spoilers! Spoiler!
Wait, I want to play this because now you've colored me fucking intrigued.
No further, Chris. You've got us hooked.
But there is a bit about probably 2/3 of the way through the game, I would say, and it's a major plot twist. You get to this point, and possibly one of the creepiest points in the game happens, where you walk into a room and you get like the little hand interaction symbol, like over a torture table, basically, and you just go, oh, okay, what's going to happen if I hit this? Click, massive flash cutscene, and you just hear a voice going, paint the lines, cut the flesh, paint the lines, cut the flesh. And it takes you a second to realize that's the main character saying that.
Okay.
You're like, wow, that's pretty messed up. Wait a minute, that's me. And your character goes bonkers for about 10 minutes. There's nothing you can do about it, because your character and you are having to deal with the fact that you were one fucked up dude by that point. Because all the notes you find as well are voiced by the guy who's playing the main character, Daniel, who actually has quite a good voice and actually voices it really well. I do like how he puts a lot of emotion into it. And you can hear him getting slowly less and less sort of human about the whole thing, slowly losing his humanity. And that's what I think the story is all about. It's a guy that lost his humanity, trying to escape from this evil, and now you're on a mission to kind of gain that humanity back. Yeah. Which I think is really good.
Yeah, it sounds enthralling, and it sounds like one of the things that like is constant progression, that you're playing alongside your character. I love bits like that you kind of realise more and more as the story progresses that it isn't about you trying to escape. The story's about your character. That's what the story is really about. Yeah. I find all the ones that are really pretty good about that. But yeah, so like I said, I'm not a big fan of horror games as it is, but I don't like getting scared for no reason. But the fact there is a good story behind it makes me more inclined to go and play a game like that. That's what hooked me into Silent Hill 2, was the story. I didn't like getting scared in Silent Hill 2, but I like the story behind it. So that's why.
The only gripe I've got with it, and this is just because I'm a bit thick, some of the puzzles do take a lot of solving, and some of them do take up quite a lot of time. They involve something which I don't really like in a game, and that's a lot of backtracking. Yeah. Sometimes you have to backtrack quite a lot to solve a puzzle, and
would you say it breaks the flow?
Yeah. That's just a personal preference for me. I don't really like backtracking to solve puzzles. I prefer to have the puzzle in front of me and solve it there and then. Yeah. Like there's a bits where you've got to go back and you've got to find things to put in a generator, and you've got to fix machinery, and there are bits that you have to kind of step back and you have to think about it, but the trouble is you can't step back and think about it for too long, because the monster will find you and claw your face off. So you've got to be
is that not symbolising his own internal trauma?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Backtrack a lot to try and find out who he is, and he's also at the same time trying to escape his inner demon of this person who he was killing all these people, and this literal demon.
Yeah, and obviously being chased by a demon, of course. That's what it's
Symbolism.
Well, there's three main enemies in the Amnesia, which will hunt you throughout it, and who chop and change and appear almost seemingly at random intervals sometimes. There's the Servant Grunt, who is probably the iconic Amnesia dude, who's like the guy with the big fucked up jaw.
Oh, so if there was ever box art of one of the bosses, that he would be that guy, sort of thing.
Yeah, he is the iconic Amnesia monster. If you search Amnesia monster, he is the first one that pops up.
Yeah.
Looks like he tried to eat a watermelon without that's actually whole.
Yes. There's the brute, who pops up about halfway through the game, I think they actually did quite well with this because I think if you have one particular type of monster in a horror game for too long, you get used to him and he loses his effect as a monster.
Yeah.
So they've actually changed it up a couple of times to say, oh, you're used to this guy, now you got to deal with this bloke.
Do they have different ways that they come and get you? And that way you think you're safe from one thing, you get used to hiding, and then maybe the other one has a different way of getting to you. Is that roughly how it is? Or?
A couple of them do, yeah. I mean, the evasion techniques for getting away from two of the monsters is actually quite similar. One of them's a little bit faster than the other. It's like the brute. The second guy you encounter is a bit faster than the grunt, and he's a lot cleverer than the grunt as well. So you've got to be a bit more a bit smarter with your hiding.
I imagine by then you are better at the game, so it just amps up the difficulty as you get better at hiding. Sort of.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. Although when the brute disappears, and then the grunt comes back, he's then smarter than he is then smarter than the brute.
So it just amps up as it goes along.
Yeah, it kind of amps it up as well. And there's also the water lurker as well, as I call him, the invisible lurking douchebag. Because he is invisible. He is like one of the most OP monsters I have ever encountered because he is plain invisible. The only reason you can actually get around him is because like all of his levels happen in like a waterlogged environment, so you can hear him coming and you can see the foot splashes.
Oh.
And even though that sounds like really cheesy, it's still actually quite worrying as well, because like it's not a quiet monster. It has a noise and it has some heft. You can tell when it's splashing down. It's not just like, a light splash. It is a thump of something quite big slamming its fist into the water.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching a video of yours when you were going against him. It was like playing a glorified game of the floor is lava.
Yeah. yeah. You've got to hop along barrels and on top of crates. You've got to pick up like torsos and arms, and you've got to lob them. But the trouble is, you can't just pick up an arm and lob it, because that won't give you enough time to like turn the wheel or pull the lever to do what you've got to do, because it'll quite quickly finish off an arm and then come back and kill you. You've got to like lob a torso, because like each body part has like some amount of time that it will take for it to eat. So your best bet is to find a torso and lob it.
The
Cannibalism on the Kittens podcast.
They actually sound like someone's nightmares. So if you speak them out to someone, it doesn't sound like much, but when you experience it, it has some level of primal terror that you can't explain, doesn't it?
Yeah. And there are bits that will appear, but there's a couple of bits. There's a bit where you're in a cistern trying to do some things, you're in a sewer trying to do some things, and you're in another bit trying to do some things. But he will only appear if your sanity is low enough. So it's almost like kind of, if your sanity is low enough, you will summon this monster. I mean, there are some bits in the game where he is guaranteed to appear, because you've got to get around him to progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, and actually the sanity mechanic actually works with the other monsters as well. If your sanity is low enough, it kind of draws them to you. It's like they can sense the madness building up and they want to eat you.
Lovely.
yeah. So you've got to be fucking careful.
Very good. So yeah, I mean, I know that Amnesia as like a game is like put up on a pedestal how good it is, and I think it deserves to be there. And like I said, there's no denying the fact that it has spawned horror games back into the ascendancy.
Oh yeah.
And there's been a lot of other games that have come out since it. Some that maybe haven't touched it, and I know that you haven't played the sequel yet, and I know that you're looking to do that.
Oh yeah, I am going to. Yeah, when I finish up Outlast, I'm going to be playing that.
Yeah. So that would be cool. And the one thing I will say is that you can catch. I don't know if I made that reference. I was saying that we've been watching a few videos. Chris has an entire Let's Play of Amnesia Dark Descent. So you can actually, if you're thinking that you want to go watch it, click on his face as we said, and you can go watch all that as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about Amnesia?
Yes, there is one thing actually. One thing that I think Amnesia really did right, and I do give them so much props for doing this, is creating the custom story pack for it.
Custom story pack? What's that?
There is, with Amnesia the Dark Descent, if you download a certain patch, you can get access to fan-made Amnesia the Dark Descent levels. Oh. And some of them are frigging epic. Some of them are actually better than the Dark Descent.
Oh, wow.
They really get you, because there's stuff that they feature in, the custom builder pack that wasn't actually in the game itself.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
And there's like loads of more effects. You can like teleport things. There's more like, random little effects. All like the little effects, like things falling off a shelf in Amnesia, you can use to like chuck a body across a room in the custom packs.
Oh. It's like Skyrim that I've been playing recently. Like some of the fan-made quests in that game are like completely like voice acted, and they're like on like their own islands and stuff like. It's bonkers just how good some of them can be.
Yeah, I mean, Tom mentioned Markiplier earlier, and I'm going to mention him as well because he's fucking amazing. But he recently done one. What was it? He did a late night drink, which is so well made. For a custom built level by a fan. It's like one guy made this and it is so good. If you like head over to Markiplier's channel, find a late night drink and just watch it, because it is just fan made glory. It is so good because it's really dark. It's like he's got some really fucking hilarious bits in there as well. It's so funny and it's just so imaginative what he's done with it.
Yeah. If I can find the video, I'll put a link in the description. So if anyone wants to see that, they can click on it.
But yeah, that's Amnesia: The Dark Descent, a game that has revived the horror industry, spawned the survival horror genre, and brought it to everyone's attention. And for me, has rekindled my love of horror games after Resident Evil destroyed it.
Resident Evil 5. Oh yeah, that's one game I played with Matt actually.
5, yeah.
I imagine you played it though because it wasn't scary.
Well, no, it's a first-person shooter that happens to involve zombies.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, That's Resident Evil.
Resident Evil 5. Oh, yeah. And Resident Evil 6, which I played for a little while, which was just as... Yeah, we won't get into that.
6 wasn't as bad.
That's going to be a special rant.
Story.
Chris, it's interesting that you say that it's rekindled your love since previous horror games, because I have a question. Listening to the plot that you said about the story, and I don't know if I'm just looking into it too deeply, because I do things like that, but it seems to me almost to be a metaphor of societies or gaming communities' desensitization to horror movies and games because it's become so expected. The way that the character has been you said that he was so used to the violence around him, so there was so much violence and murder that he suddenly became accustomed to it and became the murderer himself.
Yeah, that is pretty much it.
How
That's
the
what I
hell
took away
does
from it
mine
as well.
work like this?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's what I took away from it as well, because you kind of understand at the point that there is a point where he's doing whatever he can to try and get away from it and try and get away from whatever's hunting him, but he's sacrificing his own humanity to do that, and he's just becoming so desensitized to these fucked up things that he does to these people that he just ends up kind of almost going mad himself, and he risks losing himself.
He's like he's saving himself, but at what cost? Which is the classic line.
Yeah,
he's regressing. His sanity is regressing to almost be like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's why Amnesia is so good, because it takes the horror genre back to what it used to be before it became all this flashy, overhyped, overdone nonsense that's come out recently. And it's gone, right, we're just going to take all of this, chuck it out the window, and take horror games back to what they used to be, where you played it, you got immersed in it, and it scared the living shit out of you, but you just had so much fun doing it. I enjoyed the shit out of this game. It was so good.
As we can see from your videos as well.
Oh yeah, so fun.
I don't think it also helps that in Amnesia you don't actually can fight the monster, can you? You can only run.
You cannot. No, you can try.
So
I mean, there are times when you kind of lob boxes at them. Actually, reading the Wikipedia page, you can actually kill the water monster, just like by hitting it with boxes and barrels and stuff. So you can actually kill that one, funnily enough. But
so essentially panic throwing.
If you compare it to games like Dead Space and Doom 3, it's just like the threat is made somewhat.
The threat is emphasised by the fact that you cannot fight this thing. I mean, in Dead Space, at least if something popped out a doorway and tried to nom your face off, you could just shoot
its limbs off.
Yeah.
See, the control's taken away from you as it would be in real life. So a problem that is found by a lot of child psychologists is that children now can't learn in schools because, this is relevant, I promise, because they are so used to games and expect to be able to control the environment and be in control of what they're doing, so they can't learn in a traditional environment. So this is almost taking the control back away from you, so that you have to learn and do according to the tools and facilities that you're given.
Yeah, because like you don't have a choice but to run away from these guys in some points, and some of the points are actually just you running from this fucker.
Yeah,
it's like you can't get away, and there is actually a point where it forces your death as well. You walk through a door, there are 6 brutes on the other side of that door who just mess you the fuck up.
You come to the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do anything.
You better
about
turn
it.
around,
You open
boy.
The door, and they are there, and it's just like, oh, this is
This is the wrong door.
I'll just close this quietly and pretend I was never here, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there is a plot point involved in that, but
Yeah, we don't want to spoil.
it happens for a reason, but it really brings to the fore that you can't do anything against this thing. All you can do is run and hide and hope it doesn't find you. And one more thing I will say before we move on, because we've been talking about this for a while now. I've been nerding out something.
That's fine.
That's the best way to do this, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing I was really pleasantly surprised about, and I'm really glad that worked, was the control mechanic. I went into this game expecting it to be really clunky, because I've had games before where it's like click and drag mechanic. So you click on something, you drag the mouse in a direction, and you move it around.
Yeah.
I was expecting that to be really clunky and really horrible and a real pain in the arse when you're trying to move quickly. But actually, it was surprisingly smooth.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised by that, and I'm really happy that it worked well.
It adds to the whole thing, isn't it? If you're not fighting with the game to get it to do what you want it to do, then you're getting further immersed in.
Especially when you've got to run up to a door, press the mouse button to try and push a door open, and it doesn't open because it's a pull door.
It's a pull!
You've got to panic and pull it back and go, no.
Oh, it's not a push.
Oh, how useful push and pull labels would have been in that game.
Yeah.
Something to think of.
Yeah. And also the lantern as well, the oil in it as well, just emphasising the fact that you've got to be careful with your oil and you can't have it lit all the time, so that adds another survival element to it. It's brilliant. It's an immersive game that's really, really good, and I would recommend anyone going out and buying it. I mean, I think on Steam it's something like 12, 13 quid now. I'd recommend buying that. Well, I would recommend buying it even if it was 25 quid, even if it was like a AAA game price tag.
You'd still
recommend going out and buying it because it's worth the money.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen of it is that if you enjoy horror games, then this is one you don't miss. And I think that's probably the best thing you can say.
If horror games fuck you up, I'd recommend skipping.
Very nicely done. The only thing I can say, just before we skip on, is that whenever I hear the word Amnesia, all I can think of is Futurama and all my circuits about Calculon getting like before I just get destroyed by the most baffling amount of amnesia right now. It's just like that's all I can think of. So.
I'm sorry, Calculon, but you have a fourth personality, and it's an I are lovers.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
All my circuits. If there was ever a spin-off of Futurama that needs to be made, that's the one.
Yeah.
So.
If it's a real life soap opera, I would watch the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. So good stuff there, Chris. Yeah, I think that's, you covered it very, very well. And some psychological intrigue there by Hayley. And talking of Hayley, we're moving on to your game now.
Hayley injecting some intelligence into our conversation.
Raising the bar a little bit.
Some class.
Before we come dragging it back down again.
Yeah. What's that? Intelligent talking? Why don't we talk about some toilet humour? Woohoo!
Boobs, penis. Yeah.
There we go, Chris. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
So, your game that you're going to cover this week, Hayley, is Tropico 5. Now, I'm interested about this because I know roughly about Tropico 5, and obviously you're going to explain it there. But this is a game that I've been interested in, but I've never bought any of the entries in the series. So I'm quite interested to see what you have to say.
Well, it's definitely a one for taste and patience and power-hungry maniacs.
Okay.
So you asked quite well, then.
Which is I, of course. Well, it's developed by a company I've never been able to pronounce the name, Haymimont Games.
Right.
And it's published by Calypso Media. I can pronounce that one.
That's good.
And I've been attached to Tropico, and I use that word very strongly since number 3. I do like series. As long as they stay good quality. I've ditched Final Fantasy. Renounced my love for it, and it was actually Tom who got me into Tropico funnily enough.
Much to my eternal regret.
Yeah, I started playing Tropico and was better at him than him immediately at it. So.
And you have no problem just saying that, instantly straight out. Just a better. So what is Tropico? What kind of game is it?
Tropico is a city builder, essentially. When people say city builder, you think SimCity.
Yeah, that's my first thought. Was SimCity.
Yeah, my mind instantly went that way.
I played SimCity back in the 90s, and this is nothing like it at all. The power behind Tropico 5 is incredible. Just in comparison to Tropico 4, the way they've refreshed each series so strongly, which makes people buy each one because it's a AAA game and so expensive, indeed. But it's definitely worth it every time. This one in particular takes a new experience where they have your rule running from colonial period, which is the 19th century, all the way up till 2000s, present day.
Also goes through time periods.
It does, yeah.
Oh,
colonial. So you're put in place as a governor by the British Empire, and then you have to you run the island. It's sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. It's in the Caribbean, of course. Best place to be.
So at least it's warm and sunny where you're ruling your lands with the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And you have some colonists. Funnily enough, they do look like colonists. So there's no natives by the looks of it. Slavery is not put into it at all, which is a delicate decision, I think, that they've put in. But you then bid for your independence, which comes into effect around early 1900s. So around 1912, you are able to get your independence. Right. And then they split up the time periods by time periods, basically by war. So you get colonial era, then you get the Second World War, then you get the Cold War, and then you get the present.
Okay.
All right.
And you have to go through these eras and try to manage your island and keep an economy going. And you also have challenges in the campaign mode, which is definitely interesting, but not something new to the Tropico series. That's the broad plot, basically, to what it is. You rule your island, and for a lot of people, they don't have the patience for it. My younger brother, for instance, he can't do it because he wants to. When he gets home after a day of work, he wants to just kill things.
Yeah.
So,
in games, will we add? He wants to kill things in games. Yeah.
This is very much it's kind of like a job in a way, and I enjoy it because I just like being in charge and being in control and making money.
So like when you're building your city, like obviously you build up from, I imagine, from humble beginnings. You start building little things here. Like your general, I'm guessing, is the general theme of the game. You say you get independence, so you can start ruling your country even with more freedom, I imagine. Like what's the overall goal? Is it to get a high enough score to build it up as big as you can before? Is there an end game with it, or just keep going and going and going?
I haven't actually got to the end of the campaign yet.
Oh wow! So it must be quite. How many hours is that then? Have you put in?
I don't know. It came out. Hold on. It came out the 23rd of May, and I started playing it the next day, and I played it probably half of the time till now. So it's about a month. So I played about a month, and that's.
Right.
Oh wow!
I have no idea how many hours because I don't count the hours. But I didn't actually play it straight away too much because there was a few bugs in it. Oh, apparently I've played 33 hours.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So like 33 hours, and
insight.
you still haven't hit any sort of semblance of of the end of the game. That's pretty good value, I imagine. So,
I haven't, because basically there's one scenario which is a bit of a spoiler alert here, where your mentor turns on you and decides to try and blow up the whole world. So you have to try and get all the resources necessary to invent a time machine to go back in time to stop your mentor.
Okay.
Cool.
I haven't completed this scenario yet.
The time travel, yeah.
Okay, so there is actually like a set story arc. Then it's not just like free form, build whatever you like and try and keep it alive kind of thing.
You can do that, and it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
Building up your economy and building up your island. But I always I find it a bit more fun to have a campaign to kind of have something pushing you, trying to make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it makes it very difficult.
Well, one of the things that I always wonder about with these strategy games is I'm a fan of them, but I find games that sometimes that have loads and loads of micromanagement, I don't get into as much. Like so I might build a building and I build a building, that's fine. But like some games take it so deep as in like, okay, I need to manufacture how much resources go into this building that goes out to all these other buildings that link. I need to get everything. You know what I mean? How much of it is micromanaged? How much take care of itself?
Because that's never been a big thing for Tropico. There's never been a lot of micromanagement in the Tropico world, but I find there's a lot more in this, which I found a bit daunting and a little bit irritating at first. Particularly with you can set managers for the building for individual buildings, and you imagine I put down a lot of buildings, so you just got to think about, you can put down the managers, you don't have to, but it then creates there's benefits to it.
Yeah.
And then you've got to manage your own dynasty, and then there's trading, so you can do trading to other countries, extra trade ships as well as exports. And then when you run out of resources like gold or coal or whatever you're mining, you can then import them through these specific trades, but you can't select it because in Tropico 4 what you could do is go to the resource menu and just select whether or not to import or export a certain resource. However, now you have to select a contract from a country that may be a bit more expensive than the going rate, it's managing all of that as well.
Yeah, so you've got plenty enough to be looking at while you're getting everything.
You don't. Yes, you'd think that there'd be a lot of waiting around, but there really isn't. It keeps you busy and it keeps you on your toes, and I think it's kind of like driving a car. You think in particular manual, how are you going to remember to push down on the clutch and change gear every time you need to? After a while, it becomes second nature and an extension of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. As you get better at just being a ruler, I imagine, of just like, instead of, oh, okay, I forgot to put this here, to do that just instinctively sort of thing. That's one of the things that, like, I know playing like SimCity. I used to play, as you say, I haven't played the new one, the new SimCity that was released. I played, as you said, the 90s version, the original one that got brought out, and I used to play that loads. I think it was like one of the first games certainly in that genre that I ever played. And obviously you would expect the genre to, I mean, that's like almost 20 years ago, so you expect it to obviously evolve since that point. What does Tropico give that other games don't? So like, if I want to play, let's say I want to go play SimCity, which I don't because I've had loads of problems with it, the new one, what would Tropico 5 give me that I can't? What is, what is there that is exclusive to that game?
Tropico 5, it's still simpler than most city builders out there. I would say that it may be a bit more complex now, but it's still a lot simpler to deal with and to manage than many. Like in particular, I was thinking about getting Banished as well, but after seeing a YouTuber play it, it's so complex, and the stuff that you need to do and to manage individual people. Whereas the people on this, whilst there's a lot of details, where they're from. They have individual thoughts. They have their family tree, political agendas as well. All the people, and you can have. I've got up to 1,700 people before on my island. That's a lot of people to have as individuals.
Oh, so yeah. I imagine like with SimCity, obviously that population counter just goes up and up and up, but you don't really have to deal with any of their needs or anything. You just kind of build more stuff as a consensus. But like you're saying that every single person in this game, one of your inhabitants of your island, you can micromanage to a certain extent of what they need and sort of thing.
But they also manage themselves. And with Tropico 4, you couldn't get. I got up to 7,200, I think, and that's where it cut off. It wouldn't allow me to bring in any more people. So this is a massive improvement.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like, it sounds like a game that I could get into. I just, like I said, I never actually got around to actually making the purchase or anything along those lines. You say that Tom got you into Tropico. How much Tropico do you play now, Tom?
No, I did play a little bit, but I'm still on number 4, and I've reached a point where it's just it's whooping me hard.
Oh, really?
You reached the point where I was his penultimate being the premium consultant.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
one thing I do love about Tropico is each individual. It's flawless. I mean, it's consistent. I mean, with SimCity, you look at one person. He's working at the DMV one day. You look at someone else, and come back to him, and suddenly he's just like he's working in the sewers or something. Nothing's consistent. He doesn't live in the same place. But with Tropico, everything is consistent. I mean, you follow the one person. They're always living in the same place. They're always working in the same place. Their family tree is consistent. What they think is consistent. It's all. And this is all for like 600 people at least.
Yeah, it must be a lot of
all that. It's just it's not powerful. I just really like that attention to detail and the fact that it stays the same.
Yeah. I mean, so that gives you like a personal touch with the people that's living on your island, which is something in SimCity you never get. Like, because it's just done on such a scale that you can't really get involved. And I imagine though that if you've got, how well does Tropico run on a rig? I didn't ask this of Guns of Icarus and Amnesia because they are games that are indies, but I don't like to put that stamp on indie games unless they're really, really bad running. How well does Tropico 5 run on a normal rig, shall we say?
What's a rig?
Computer spec.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I mean, I've got a standard budget laptop. It's got an 8 gigabyte hard drive. RAM.
Yeah.
8 gigabyte RAM. Oh, being stupid there. So whilst it's a powerful budget laptop, it's still a budget laptop at any rate.
Yeah.
It works fine, but this is when one of the massive problems with the community has been. You have to have is it DIVX? It was DVX.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be number 12, not 11. Luckily, the laptops that we've got is DVX 12, but that's not a new thing. It's not a recent thing, but all the other games have been DVX 11, and the community have been in a bit of an uproar saying that they bought the game but it won't run because they don't have the latest software.
Oh, really? And like a lot of times that happen, the actual software will come with it bundled that you can actually download. It doesn't do that at all?
No,
wow.
it's more. Sorry, not software. It's hardware, so it's built into the laptop, of course. So,
okay.
They can't. Yeah, so it's about a matter of the developers have just said, well, you should have checked the specs first.
Oh,
and
that's
there's
harsh.
huge conversations on the forums. So many of them saying, just check the specs, and it's just got lists and lists of specs saying, make sure that your laptop computer meets these specifications.
It seems a bit odd that they would do that, and that the fact that all the previous games had that long. I mean, yeah, to a degree, I understand what they're saying. You don't ever buy any game without checking the specs to see if it'll work. But
you say that some people are that stupid.
Yeah, I mean, like some people though, like when you've got like a series that's done it on a relatively same thing like that, then it does seem odd that they would make such a drastic change. But obviously, I don't know. I haven't played the game. But you say like even on a normal, regular power rig, like you said, like yours, it runs to specification. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, see, it's a difficult question to answer purely because there have been problems with it at the beginning. Like I said, I didn't play it too much at the beginning when it first released because it lagged so epically on the laptop, and it wasn't the actual gameplay that did it. It was the cinematics at the beginning in the menu.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I couldn't load the game because the cinematics was lagging the things so badly.
Oh, that's right. I mean, how with all these people added in, like you say, you can get a lot of people that have their own individual reports. That's my main thing. That's the reason I brought it up, the actual power of it. When everything's all running, you've got like you said, you've got all these people with their own individual thoughts, their own individual patterns. You've got all this other building stuff going on. Like when all of that's all in motion, does it stay up to scratch? I don't want a game like that slows down the more I get into it.
It is absolutely fluid.
Oh, that's fine then. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So.
There's been several updates since as well. But the problem that I had, which prevented me from playing the game a lot of time, that didn't get fixed until June 10th.
Oh wow, that's quite late. As you say, the game was released in May, didn't you say?
May 23rd.
May 23rd,
Yeah.
so that's quite a big jump.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Rome Total War 2 when that was released. That thing was a buggy mess, and it took them patch after patch after patch to fix it. I know a lot of fans of that series, including Matt actually. Talking about that though, I know Matt is probably one of the other bigger fans of strategy games. Does Tropico sound like something that would be up your street?
I'm quite liking the sound of the micromanaging sort of thing. I think it's quite, especially. It might be even just like a finer detail, but I mean, as Tom mentioned, sort of like you follow one guy and they'll go to one house, then they'll go to one place of work, but they'll just go off somewhere else afterwards. Whereas you actually have like an individual mechanic for each individual person, and it's quite a nice little touch. But I think for individual micromanagement, then it sounds quite interesting.
Yeah,
I will say now, it's wonderful when you've got an election coming up. You can actually follow the person who's running against you, and you can do wonderful things to their family.
Oh no, you can't.
Hayley, how many times, Hayley, have you actually followed the person and just like, oh, he's actually got good credibility, send him to work in the cotton fields?
Do that.
Okay, no, because you don't.
So you could be
work in the pineapple fields.
You could be a corrupt leader. That's what you're saying.
Oh, what is it?
You could be corrupt.
There's all that power involved
Elections,
as well.
you
That's
can
fine.
bribe leaders of factions.
You can bribe them, you can banish them, or you can discredit them. I often discredit them because it's just a bit more humane.
Yeah.
You say humane, you just suddenly it comes up in the morning edition of the radio that the person who's running against you has ferret pornography.
That's the thing, the radio in it as well, which comes on every so often. It's so funny. There's a lot of nerd.
There's a lot of private jokes.
It's a lot of private jokes and Easter eggs. Yeah, there was one that really tweaked our interest, where she said, "So the next one is for my old boyfriend Mal, who wore a firefly pin, who was killed by what was it?
A rabid fox."
Oh, I like it. Oh, that is good. Oh,
Yeah.
thumbs up.
All of those
like
that
that.
It's got a lot of little Easter eggs, and it's whoever writes it, it's beautiful. They're very humorous and it's very clever.
Which is good when you're obviously just toiling away and something like that comes out in like the background. That's something that's gonna give you a good old smile. I like that about games. I do that every so often. So.
And it's absolutely beautiful as well. The just the graphics in it. I have it on all the graphics on lower settings, but it's still beautiful. You can see the trees swinging. The water looks amazing. You can't zoom in as much as you used to be able to, but all the costumes on the individual people change as you go through the time periods, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, the idea that you say you've got over 30 hours playtime, it goes through different time frames. You can do all this micromanagement, but it's not essential, which is something
And you
I
haven't
look for.
finished it in 30 hours.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good package. I mean, how much is it going for, roughly? You say it's a AAA title and it's priced that way. Are we looking about 40 quid? You know, it's all euros over here. Are we looking roughly about that?
I think
Hold on a second, let me have a look.
Just for the price of it, because it sounds good. It sounds good to me. Something that I could get into. And Tropico, I mean, just the idea of being a really corrupt leader. I don't know why that just sold it to me.
I think
even
part
more.
of it's taken from your Crusader Kings 2 side, Tony.
Yeah, which I know Morgan's going to cover in a future episode. I know he's looking forward to that. But you could be roughly the same thing. Like you can kill your brother to take his land in that game, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
So.
It is currently going for £34.99.
So a full retail price,
Yeah.
going for it, which is with all those things working for it. I imagine from what you've explained for it, if you're a fan of strategy, and it's not like strategy where you're fighting against another player, it's just city building, as you say that. This should be something you should look up. You convinced me anyway, and I'm quite hard to convince on these things. So
There's a new aspect to it as well, which is multiplayer.
oh, okay, yeah.
Well, so I think I haven't actually played it on multiplayer yet, but I think it would be where you have say people have their certain corner of the island and you divvy it up yourself and build up your own island as a team cooperatively.
I would say that doesn't sound like it would be competitive multiplayer.
Yeah.
You
it
could make
can be
it.
competitive or cooperative.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so run both ways. So that sounds pretty cool that you'd be able to do that. What you'll have to do,
Up the island between you.
what you'll have to do, Hayley, is show off your skills and beat Tom in a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Just show how good you are,
To prove yourself.
Oh,
just to prove yourself.
30 hours gameplay on top of none.
Well, no, you don't have any excuse. You brought Hayley into this series, so you brought this upon yourself.
I've
Tom.
actually got the same problem with Don't Starve. I started playing it. I've got like 120 hours or something like that on me, and now she's got 433 hours.
Wow, that's mad.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we know what you're
Train
covering next
military
then.
units in that.
I love Don't
Sorry,
Starve.
what was that?
Can you train military units?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
There's a bit more strategy element involved in Tropico 5 than there was in the previous ones. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if there was a military coup, the only thing you could rely on was the position and numbers of your military. And
The only thing I really got to equate it to from personal experience is like Rome Total War, a medieval Total War, which was a shambles. So
You
because
get a lot of rebel attacks. Sometimes you get foreign invasion forces, and sometimes your arcs just take on a few troops to tackle because America can't be bothered to do it themselves or something like that.
all right,
Oh, so there is
Tropico 5.
okay.
so there is like some sort of like you can't just sit away doing your building, take your own time. You've got to make sure that at least you're defendable from all these other things going. That's
Try
pretty cool.
and make sure your people are happy as well.
Yeah, otherwise
Like-
they will overthrow you.
You can never make everyone happy because if you do one thing, say announce one edict, it will piss off someone else. So
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you can't make everyone
Say
happy.
if you want same-sex marriage, that will improve your relations with the intellectual faction, but it will obviously piss off the religious factions.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I imagine if one of the factions gets too low, like religious or military, then you might get a push to try and get you out of power, sort of thing. Is that roughly how it works?
Yes, you have uprisings, which will be literally, say, if only 40% of the population like you, then you'll get 40% of the population on your side, and the rest will be against
wow.
you.
Out the
And it'll be
streets throwing bricks.
It'll be everyone fighting everyone.
Oh, madness.
I usually
Chaos
survive those.
ensues.
Military coups, rebel incursions. You also have tornadoes, hurricanes. No, you don't have hurricanes. You have tornadoes, volcanoes. Yes, thank you, and tsunamis.
Oh, wow, so you've got natural disaster. It does sound like it does keep you on your toes. That you
Yeah.
think,
Oh, and earthquakes.
earthquake.
Yeah.
So you've got your own little island, but a lot can happen to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
I think my pet annoyance with it would be that it focuses primarily, and it's very, very it just focuses primarily on the Spanish side of the Caribbean, and being close to the Caribbean in my culture, I'm closer to the eastern side of Caribbean, so there's a lot of
You feel like part of the culture's being neglected.
a massive part of the culture is being neglected. Yeah, I mean, just this
All right.
year, the best rum in the world award was won by a small island, St. Vincent, and that's there's no Spanish influence there at all. So
It just feels like it focuses on Cuba rather than the Caribbean as a whole.
yeah,
It's
and
working.
so-
It's working on that demographic, right? Yeah, I get
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah.
Well, the thing is as well, the islands themselves are that you work on are very small, and the smaller islands are down in the east.
Yeah. So you talked about cons about there. Can you think of any cons, any pet peeves about the game in general when you play it? I mean, there has to be some in a strategy game. They can't all be perfect. And there's no perfect strategy game ever made. So is there anything that stands out, something that you think that needs to be improved for the next iteration? Or
I can't think of anything in particular because it's just so different from the fourth one. I feel like I haven't had a chance to actually think about what it's missing yet because there's so much new content to it.
yeah. To break it down and see if there's anything that shows up, sort of thing. Yeah.
The only pet peeves, the improvement wise, I would only think that it needs to enhance its cultural outlook, because when people think Caribbean, they think of people with brown skin, not light skin and things like that. So, and that's a big pet peeve of mine because
I think that's
it's missing a massive chunk of culture from the Caribbean, and it's a rich place.
Yeah.
Culture wise, not money wise.
Yeah.
so. Functionally speaking, there's nothing wrong with it. You'd say, yes.
Not yet.
It's just
no.
missing.
Let's say,
It's just
so if
missing
you got
big
30
culture.
hours on it and you still feel like it's all new and fresh, then it's doing something right, obviously.
Yeah.
how easy is it to navigate? Like do you have to go through like half a dozen different menus to get to like say
No.
where your power is, and then go through our.
Which is so
loads of other
frustrating.
things. Yeah.
Everything is either control click or click.
Oh no,
that's handy.
That's pretty.
It's so
It's a
much
very
easier.
friendly UE.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, 'cause
We
that's
do
a
love our
lot of
UEs
strategy
here.
games where you got to go through like 8 different menus to get to something, and then you've got to navigate a buttload of other things.
I don't know how it is on the 5th one, but I know they're more you get there's one series of menus which is presents all the information. It can be a little daunting to look at it first,
You're
but
talking about the almanac.
the almanac,
Yeah.
The almanac, yeah, but you only look at it at certain times depending on what you're actually looking for. When you know what you're looking for, say like your relations with foreign powers, you'll go to that particular page. It's just bookmarks in a page and you go to it. So like if you want to see how well your economy is doing or resources, you'll go to that particular part.
which
You know,
faction loves you and which faction
the
hates
thing
you.
is, when you go to the almanac, you go to it looking for what you know what you want to look for.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it kind of eradicates that need to it doesn't have to be great because you know what you're going for when you get in
Yeah.
anyway, sort of thing.
You could go through a whole scenario without needing to look at the almanac once. You probably won't because you'll need to, but you don't actually have to look at it at all.
Yeah, but it's easy to navigate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
all right.
Which is an absolute must for any game like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Before
I mean,
it gets too confusing.
Yeah.
That's my point with Tropico. It is so much more easy to navigate than so many other city builders that I've seen.
Yeah.
Mm.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Is there anything else that you want to cover at all with Tropico?
I don't think so. It's shiny.
One
It's shiny.
feature
It's
that,
lovely and sunny.
That's always nice to find the game.
One new feature they added to Tropico 5, which I was quite impressed with, is you actually get a family now. You get members to El Presidente, which can improve their skills to help with certain things. Say if you say one family member is obsessed with space, it will help your it will help with your science.
Yeah, sort of.
Something.
Cool.
You get to send them off to diplomatic occasions and to send them off to university, and they cause different events, which is actually a good point because I did say that the time spans of around about 100 years plus, and of course because you're not expected to live for that long, even though you can technically, that's why they have given you a dynasty so that you have heirs and such.
Oh, so you can keep going through. That sounds a lot like
Good
Crusader
touch, yeah.
Kings as
Do
well.
you have to unlock like different technologies, or do you just get it handed to you when you progress to a different?
See, in Tropico 4 modern times, you did just get them handed to you over time. However, now you have to unlock them through research points, and you can collect them via particular buildings. So a school, library, an observatory, college, and you just use upgrades, which will upgrade the amount of research points that they lend. So you can do it that way, which is a little bit annoying.
It still sounds accessible though, because you don't get things handed to you, but you can't expect a island with like one secondary school to get program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, I prefer that as well because I find it like it takes a bit of like the fun and a bit of the challenge out of the game when a game like that just hands you an upgrade. Just
For no
like,
reason, sort of thing, that you've done no work.
You've got past all the medieval stage. You're getting into the industrial age. Here's all the technology for the industrial age. It's like, well, it's kind of a bit more fun, especially say to take something like Civilization, when like kind of it's like a race to kind of have the more advanced technology, and you've got to balance it out from like military to diplomatic stuff and healthcare or military where you want to go kind of thing. So, like, I prefer that kind of thing, really. I don't like getting stuff handed to me in games.
You've got to earn it with your hard blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
So how it's meant to
better
go.
as well.
So,
I mean, with this mechanic, you can choose what you research, but for certain technologies, you have to research, say, 2 previous technologies to be able to research that technology.
so it's got a proper
and-
tech tree, then you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can understand that's not for everyone. That can get a bit annoying. It's like, I want this bit of tech, but I've got to research half a dozen things first. And I know that can get annoying for some people, and that's not for everyone.
However, comparing it to the Tropico 4 Modern Times, which had a similar, which had not research, but it had unlockable technologies, that you had certain events that occurred at certain times, and you'd have to wait for that year to unlock that certain technology. And a lot of times it would be randomly generated, the occurrences and the technology.
Oh, so it's
So
got
this
a,
would be-
That makes sense, though.
yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's just another level of management that you're adding to it. So in some sense, it's irksome to be, I've got to manage all these people, and then I've got to manage the research. So that is how it's getting a bit more complicated and complex than
Right.
the previous Tropico series.
Yeah, it's just something to adjust to, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you imagine as you get to more in any game, you learn it more as you go forward. And
I suppose it might be easier to adjust to it if you haven't played the previous Tropico games. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll be learning it from scratch rather than coming from a previous game and then having to like kind of relearn a new system.
Yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
sometimes in games like that, it's easier to come in new because you don't have to forget what you've already learned and then try and look at it from a new perspective, sort of thing. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but having played it already, you have your strategies and you
Oh,
know how to.
Yeah, you've got one
you
up with everyone else.
You know how to be a corrupt leader, following people around, Hayley. Shame for shame.
You say that.
Discrediting
To be
them.
fair, I'd be corrupt as well.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
All my
Like, it's
factory
easier.
farms now.
Very good, very good. Is there anything else that you would like to cover, or is that?
I think I'm done.
I
Yeah.
think we're done. Oh, you've done it in quite descriptive fashion. And, you may have got
Definitely sold.
yeah, definitely so. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of that myself. Wow, that sounds like it could be well worth my time. So, well, very good. Talking of blood, sweat, and tears, and earning stuff through your blood, sweat, and tears. How about losing stuff through your blood, sweat, and tears? Matt's turn is up. He is talking about the game that has made many people cry, XCOM: Enemy Within. This is a game that I have played. I'm currently in the middle of recording a Let's Play of it. So take it away, Matt. Tell us about XCOM: Enemy Within, the game that you've played more than me.
True.
Yeah.
Well, as Chris mentioned earlier, we had from mentioning of Civilization, the Civilization being made by Firaxis Games, and obviously Firaxis Games being the developer for XCOM. What can I say? For something that came out back in 2012, I think it's safe to say that I know so many people who have stories to tell when it comes to this game.
Yeah.
Especially considering it's quite an old concept of turn-based combat. You have your move phase, your shoot phase, and the enemy takes their turn, sort of thing. And essentially, as it's a reboot of a '94 classic of UFO.
Sorry.
I never played UFO.
I played all three of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, there we go.
I know someone mutual to all of us, Little Matt Hooper. He's played them all as well. He speaks
I
highly
think I was
of
the one
them.
that introduced him to UFO Aftermath, and then
I think
he
you
took
were
it off,
Fair enough.
and then he played Aftershock before me. But that's a whole other thing.
But even then, sort of like going back and sort of like stories even of hearing sort of how everything turned out on just the UFO game, and I think everyone has their stories for XCOM. I mean, as you said,
I think UFO actually helped inspire URCS, didn't it?
To a degree, but I think that's going into a whole subject that we could
that's a
spend
whole.
hours talking about.
That's something for another day.
Yeah.
Pull up a chair, I shall spin you a tale.
Exactly that. I think I find one thing I quite like about so much for XCOM is it was almost destined for good things. Once you got over the it's all turn based and it's aliens. I mean, you don't have a company like 2K be your publisher, and obviously for everyone that knows, 2K is your lesser part of like the whole sort of Take-Two franchise. You got 2K and you got Rockstar, and like two companies that have made huge games.
Yeah.
And how else are you going to sell something strong when you have that sort of backing? I don't even know how to describe it. All I could do is just tell stories of noble soldiers who go off.
Yeah. Well,
And how, like,
it's
my
a
current
turn-based
kernel
strategy
is a-
game that actually has a decent AI to it and is extremely
It really does.
very challenging in places. It can fuck you up.
Oh, definitely.
It's a game it will beat you.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
cruel.
disobedient
It's
child
cruel.
with-
Oh yeah, if you sort of think, oh, it's safe, I'll put them there, and then suddenly just everything goes wrong, and that one person dies, and you're
One
like,
misstep could destroy your entire squad and lose the game for you.
That's it. And it's like, it's always going to be that one time where you get cocky because you have a full team of colonels.
Yeah.
It's like they've seen so much, they've defeated so much, and then it's suddenly just like, I will put them there. Oh, wait a minute, is that too close to a car that's on fire? Boom, and that's it.
Yeah.
One ethereal,
Idiot.
and it could ruin everything.
I think
yeah.
one of the things that, just to explain it to people that haven't played it before, when you play XCOM, you know, like in normal games, sometimes in other turn-based strategy games, when your guys get killed, they get put in a medical facility. You get them back in about a week. So in XCOM, when you lose your guys, they're dead. You don't ever get them back. So like if one of your guys dies and he's like your top guy,
if you've got a support trooper, like you've kind of got a hope of like, quick run, I'm gonna save you, because they're bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, or they are just completely dead outright.
Yeah.
There is just something almost dreadful when you just see them. They fly back in that cinematic motion. You know they're dead, and it's just like,
no. I remember I was doing the Let's Play, and actually it's ironic really, because I named them all after Kittens players, and I was trying to get Matt up to a certain rank so I could get an unlock. And there's a bit in the video where you actually get killed, Matt, and I'm like there for about a good minute. I don't even know what to say because I was hoping, pinning all my hopes.
Shock.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments that I always look back on. So like, let's talk. Go ahead, Tom.
No, say this is a game where carelessness will.
Yeah.
You will just.
It
lose.
will come back and get you.
And it'll always be your fault. It's never something that the game screws you out of. It's always It's always
never
your
the
fault.
game being OP. It's never the game being broken. It's your own fault because you left that one guy out of position and you got flanked.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's
That
it.
you played the percentages and they went bad on you. So let's talk about Enemy Within, because you're playing Enemy Within. And if anyone doesn't know, Enemy Unknown was the original game that got brought out, and then they released an expansion, which I believe very highly of. I think it's one of the best expansions I've ever played. So tell us what Enemy.
It's more than it's one of those proper old school expansion packs rather than like, well, it's a couple of extra like costumes and something like that.
I like your derpy common developer voice.
My derp voice.
Derpy developer voice. That's what it's going to be called.
Developer derp. That's a thing now.
But it adds so much more, because obviously you then get your mechs. Like you can get guys who just like, cool, we're going to take your arms and your legs off. We're going to stick them with big giant fucking suits, and so powerful. But yet can still have their flaws.
See, I haven't actually played this expansion. I've just got the normal XCOM.
The original one.
Yeah, so
You are missing out, Chris.
I have heard the mechs are like ridiculously OP though.
Yeah,
they're powerful, but you have to make a lot to get them, and they can be destroyed. That's the thing. Like,
and they're very expensive to make.
Yeah,
they are.
They add a new feature called meld, and with this meld, it's essentially nanobots. And with this meld, you can create mechs and genetic troops.
I always go for genetic troops myself because it really makes them stronger.
I've got a few genetics.
I like to have a squad of 6 strong, tough, burly men rather than one giant robot.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm playing this my current playthrough on marathon, so it's getting cool. I'm like, only now have I set up the big array to get. I've only just stumbled across the ethereal, but like my most powerful character is a Colonel Sniper who's got genetics, who can jump to any height, he's invisible if not seen. He's got the aim benefit if he's on higher ground. Not to mention, along with his other traits, he's done 43 missions and he's killed 138.
Wow, that's
Jesus!
It's just like marathon mode is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have my big 6, like my starting 6 is 4 genetics and 2 mechs.
Oh, best of both
Nice.
worlds then, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've got your assault troopers with the combat stims, and then suddenly everyone's got their adrenaline up, and it's just mayhem.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that the introduction of Meld did in that series is that, like, if anyone goes and watches my original playthrough, you can be very conservative. Like, you can go in, like, you can take a long time in a mission. You don't even have to attack. You can just put your guys in defensive positions, put them on Overwatch.
Yeah.
But
like, am I going to move into my shooting phase? No, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go into Overwatch just in case.
Yeah, you could do that
Meld?
loads. No, you have to rush in, otherwise you're going to miss your chance. And then the thing is, if you keep doing that and you don't get any meld, you're going to be like you'll miss your science curve. So like you won't like I would say that on a decent difficulty, which you have to play XCOM on, an enemy within, if you don't get that mailed towards the end of the game, you've got no chance. Like, you're gonna get really badly hurt because that game requires that you upgrade with the mail, so it requires you to run in and be a little bit more adventurous and put your most valuable guys in heated positions. So
that's it. I mean, the one thing I'm quite liking is with the enemy within add-on is the addition of Exalt.
Oh yeah,
it's quite a good little thing.
The true enemy within. There you go. A little bit of
Sort of like, they've interrupted your all your research. They've stolen money from you. You got to find them and sort of send off one little guy to go do like some counter ops. And it's quite good. And it's a nice little addition, even though, I mean, fighting against them's pretty much exactly the same, only they're human to begin with.
But if you've played a lot of multiplayer of the original XCOM, it's roughly playing against a PvE version of the multiplayer playing. The same sort of units you're using, I'd say.
Yeah, because they've got their heavy and their sniper and their support guys.
Yeah,
and it works completely. And it's just even lovely, just bits like that where, yet again, sort of they can, if you get it all right and if it all goes in your favour, then you're one step closer to finding out where their base is. If not, you've lost people, you're losing money, and just because the Exalt have the upper hand on you at that point.
Yeah. And like all this while that you're going against these guys, the aliens are still attacking you, so like you can lose countries giving you funding and stuff. It's got it doesn't have as much of of what I can imagine because I haven't played it. It hasn't got as much micromanagement as like a game like Tropico might have. But I'd say that a lot of the decisions that you have in XCOM, it's like you either do it right or you die. That's pretty much it. It's like it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
There's a lot riding on you.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, it's kind of difficult, especially it's just like everyone's just like in red. Everyone's on the brink of like dropping out of the XCOM project, and it's like, oh, if only I could build a satellite uplink.
Yeah, just get everyone.
It takes
happy.
20 days to make an uplink, and then it takes another 20 days to build a fucking satellite.
Yeah, it is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Sometimes with the time constraints in those games, it's like I need this thing, but I've got to wait for like fucking ages for it to be built.
Exactly.
It takes 20 days to build a satellite, and the country you intended for has dropped out. But by the time you get it, you're just like, I have it. I don't know what I got it for, but I got it.
just give it to them. And
throw it at the most expensive people.
Yeah, who's going to give me the most stuff?
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things that I think that XCOM Enemy Within gave to the game is that the first game, I love the first game, the original game, but I thought that once you've played one playthrough, you're already going to start seeing a lot of the same map types. And one of the best additions that they did, but probably they didn't do a lot of work on, is actually just making a lot more different templates for the maps to be on. So like you're now playing on a vastly different array of places, so a lot of different ways that you're going to have to go on a battlefield, which in a game like XCOM is so pivotal that you need different battlefields to be able to fight on.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's just like, especially just your variety of map types. And I mean, they only added two enemies?
2 extra ones, yeah, 2.
2 extra ones, the Seeker and the Mechtoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the one thing I like is the fact that they've added, to go with the mechs, you have a Mechtoid. But you have all these little bits of cinematics when you're fighting them, when you get right up close to go melee with them.
With the mechs is awesome. Yeah.
When you get those final shots, and you just see it line up, and you just see them fly into a wall.
Yeah, and it's just all through the wall to destroy it. But I found 3 of those little cinematics against the Mechtoid, the Muton Berserker, and the Sectopod.
Oh, really?
I hate the Sectopod.
Everyone
I was
thinks
literally
the Sectopod.
just on the mission I did before we started recording this was the first mission I came across them again, and I just suddenly just like they're all in the ship. The Sectopod's not in the ship, and my sniper's just like cloaked in the trees, just like shit, it's there. Suddenly, just like everyone out, get everyone out.
You just see a Sectopod, you just feel your nads clench.
Your backwards iris is closed.
Those things are brutal.
I think when I first came across one, I was like, oh, it's a big floaty thing. Oh, it's right out in the open. This thing's going to be easy. Nope, annihilated my whole fucking squad. I was like, oh.
It's one of the first, like, it's one of the first enemies that you find in the game that has 2 turns. Like, it fires once and it will fire again, and it's quite rare for.
And it does like 10 damage. As
yeah,
well.
for each
Really
hit.
basic weapon you.
So if you don't take it out quick, or there's other ways to circumvent it as well, but I don't want to give spoilers for new players. One of the things I'll say about XCOM though is that it is a brutal game, but one of the things you have to get over when you first start playing a game is that you need to get over the fact that you're going to fail, but it shouldn't stop you starting up again and learning from your failures, and that way you'll get better as a player.
I've only completed XCOM once,
and that's
I still haven't completed it on Within yet.
So how many playthroughs have you had though?
Loads.
It does take loads to get used to it.
No, it wasn't even it was like my most recent one is mainly just because the one before it I was like, I don't remember how far I got. I'll just start again, and I don't mind starting again.
Yeah.
It's like the worst part. Like, it's like the best and worst part of this game, and no wonder that so many people gave it Game of the Year. I don't care if I have to start from the beginning.
It's awesome, sort of.
There's something wonderful about cultivating everything you're doing, raising your team from scratch.
Yeah.
Naming them, giving them personalities.
I've gone through various playstyles, and obviously I did the Kittens one, which I recorded, and unfortunately none of the people in this podcast survived, but...
Did I die?
Yeah, you died.
When did I die again?
Oh no, you survived, Tom. Sorry, I forgot. You survived. But I've done the ones where I've done like I've named them all Manchester City players because I'm a fan of Manchester City. I've done family members. I did US presidents just because it was just an idea of what to do. So going around with George Washington getting gunned down by aliens is quite surreal. But you can do that. I mean, one of the things that when you first play it on, you do your friends and your family, which I did, and when you get like when I accidentally got my wife killed, which is quite awkward to explain, you do feel bad. You're like, oh wow, like she's gone and she's not coming back. You can't bring her back unless you want to cheapen out and just name another soldier the same name, which I disagree with.
Save Scum and load the previous save.
Oh no, you got to play Iron Man. It's the only way to play XCOM. You have to play Iron Man. All your mistakes, just live with them, learn, move on. If your best guy dies, then get someone else to be as good as him.
I mean, I probably should have just ticked it because I pretty much play Iron Man. I just never selected Iron Man.
Yeah. I used to play on without Iron Man, but as you said there, Matt, like after a while I realised I didn't want to load back because I felt it took away from the experience. So then I just click on Iron Man going forward. So like after hearing about all this and all the things that how brutal it is a game like this something that I'm talking to Hayley here, who's a fan of Tropico 5, obviously. Is a game like this as brutal? I mean, it is brutal. XCOM can be a very, very harsh game if you do it wrong. What is in this game that might put you off of playing it?
Well, the thing with the game, it rings home really strongly with Don't Starve. It reminds me of Don't Starve, which I live in. I live Don't Starve, and the whole consequential. You can't load a save, and if you die, you die.
Yeah.
That is completely don't starve, and that's a relation to it for me. But I think the thing that will stop me is, I don't know. It's not really my genre. Sci-fi is not my genre. I think that's the only thing.
I think that does play quite heavy into it. It is essentially it's a turn-based role-play sci-fi game.
Yeah, I'm a fantasy girl. That's just. I mean, this is the thing when you say about. Turn-based combat, it's old school Final Fantasy for me. Wild Arms and Suikoden, the good ones.
Yeah. Before auto battle started getting into Final Fantasy, I'm sure that'll be a topic for another day because we could talk about that.
I mean, that would be my question to Matt, actually. What would you say to those? Because you hear so much uproar and bitching from people who say, turn-based combat, it's boring, and slow. Oh, it's not realistic. What would you say to people who say that?
Fine. It's an opinion. I'm not going to get arsey if It's the one thing I don't understand, like with some people in the gaming community. So not amongst ourselves because everyone has their opinion and we all see it as fair enough. But sort of people are just like, it's so fucking stupid. I don't understand how you play that. Well, I don't understand how you still sit at home and play Call of Duty for 4 hours at a time.
Yeah.
I can only play 2 games and then I'm bored.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is as well, because so many games focus on like first-person shooter games. They've become so prolific that people seem to think that's the norm, and you don't really have to put that much thought into those games. You just get told, these are your enemies. Go over here. You have to go over there, and you go, okay, I go over there.
Holding my hand.
And yeah,
And therefore, there is Chris's derpy player voice.
yeah.
Debuting on the show.
Point of interest, actually. I don't know if you guys know of Jim Sterling. He's a games journalist for The Escapist.
Yeah, I do know of him.
With AAA games, apparently, according to them, only 3 games exist on the markets. Only 3.
Call of Duty, Battlefield.
No. Call of Duty, Candy Crushers, and Clash of Clans. Those are the only 3 games that exist.
Really?
They must live a very boring life.
I think it actually says something about the AAA market when 2 of those games are free-to-play mobile app games.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, just talking about Call of Duty though, and like when I know it's kind of hard to actually compare Call of Duty to XCOM, because they're 2 completely different beasts. But when I die in Call of Duty, I don't care. When a character of mine dies in XCOM, I really care, because then I've lost a massive integral part of my team forever throughout my entire playthrough. So like games that make you feel that loss and feel your defeats as much as your victories, I think is something that should be really applauded, because like in Call of Duty, killing someone and dying eventually just becomes numb. It doesn't matter anymore. Whereas
sooner or later, Call of Duty just evolves into a game of attrition. It's whether or not you can survive just the repeated autosaves and reloads, autosaves and reloads, autosaves and reloads.
Yeah, well, one thing that I noticed playing games like that, not just labelling it on Call of Duty, but games like that, is that whenever I would start a match, I'd always run the same way. And I thought, that why am I doing that? You just get used to it, because, you know, you run on like almost like internal percentages. Whereas in XCOM, you're roughly doing the same thing. You're making decisions, but you're much likely to make a different decision because it means much more. You know, it's a lot more. When you're punished in a game like XCOM, you are punished. You really are punished for making a bad mistake. And I think that adds to the experience that you...
It's like one thing I'm trying to do is I don't want to rely on just my sole team, because I've now played it enough times. I now know that someone can die.
Someone will die.
And someone will die.
Yeah.
That's it. And like I'll have my big 6 and then suddenly it's just like, I have a problem because all of them are dead.
Oh dear.
But, I'm sort of taking them off on submissions, but I'm always taking
One
sort of
newbie.
sort of like 2 or 3 weaker ones. Not
Just to level
necessarily.
up.
That's it. And it's all because I need to do it.
Comparing a game like the first-person shooters compared to XCOM, you're comparing chalk and cheese in a way.
Yeah.
Because
completely.
When people play games like Call of Duty, they switch off. They're mindless. They're thoughtless, and they just go around shooting things.
Go around shooting things and saying how they fuck my mum.
We all have games like that. We all do it.
I suppose it's like
but with XCOM, it's true strategy, true thought, and
you can't shut off. No,
it is literally a game of chess. You will sit there, hand on fist, for an hour and a half, just thinking, what is the best move?
Yeah. It's like an interactive board game almost. Very much like that.
It's a game which makes you think, which is why I think it's really unfortunate that games like that get slammed so much, because people have come to expect like a game that involves aliens to be a FPS shooter game. And it's like, no, they can be so much more.
Yeah.
You can have games that you actually have to put a degree of thought into. They don't just have to be shoot 'em up games with bog standard aliens. They can be things that you have strategy in.
So have people slammed XCOM for being too hard? Because I swear I've heard that. Because it's literally if you lose too much support for your cause, eventually the game will turn around and say, you know what, you fucked up too much. Start again.
Yeah.
That's true, because too many countries have left.
But some people hate that. Some people are just like, no.
Oh, I've lost the game. Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
All of that says a lot about our society in a way, of how we want things spoon-fed to us, handed to us. We want easy games. We want games that we can just be mindless for. And it's the same with movies a lot. It's why people don't read books. It's a crime.
Some people,
it's a crime.
This is a game that doesn't hold your hand. It will punch you in the face very hard repeatedly.
That being said, though, about this game is that like it does appeal to a certain demographic, and there will be the same demographic of players that will play a game like Dark Souls, another game that batters you and forces you to play by its rules.
Oh yeah.
There is a market
XCOM
for those
was actually
players.
compared to,
Yeah, like
because of its just
brutality.
accept death.
Yeah, like there is. While we say, oh yeah, I'm in no illusion. More people will go for instant gratification. If they can't win it, then they don't care. But there is a market out there, like gamers like us, that are like, okay, this is a challenging game. It's beating me, but I can overcome it. I can get better, and I can learn. And games like this,
Yeah.
so like,
You get into the mindset of like, fuck you, game. You will not beat me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You just see us stumbling back, bloodied and broken, and just like, is that all you got?
Proper 300 star. Like, come on.
feel like
It ain't
a
over till
punch
it's
drunk
over.
boxer sort of thing. Like you're like against the ropes. You're no, I'm not gonna let you beat me. I'll restart and try again, sort of thing.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, I am the tiger. I certainly felt that way during my LP of it. So, and I'm going to do the new series soon, which will be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I actually find it really annoying when a game's too easy. When I can just blaze through it in like a couple of hours. It's like, well, that wasn't really worth my time. That was too easy. That's annoying. That pisses me off because it looked like it's just a lazy game. And like, I mean, it says to me that the game developers were just like handed a concept by the studio and just gone, just make any old shit. And they went, oh, okay, and just
The money.
Yeah. Which I don't like. I don't like how much we're slamming Call of Duty, even though I don't like it. But it is like that. Call of Duty campaigns are exactly like that.
Yeah.
You can bomb through them in a couple of hours,
So much.
and then they're done, and that's it. It's sure you can put it on extreme difficulty, but I tell you, like if you've played first-person shooter games to any sort of degree, you can get through that really easy. It's not that hard to get through.
To be
a lot
honest,
of these
I've
things as well.
completed Modern Warfare 3 on the extremist difficulty in like one day.
Yeah.
I did that with the first
It's
and the
not
second.
hard. Yeah, it's just like it's not as hard as people think. It's like, oh, I completed it on the extreme difficulty. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Well, for you.
12-year-olds can do that. Why are you so hyped up about it?
Go
Can't
play
they?
XCOM on impossible difficulty.
Yeah.
And then come back to us, sort of thing.
Or like
yeah.
go
And then
put
try and get
Roman-
some of the achievements that they'll
Yeah.
give you for that one.
Yeah.
Like, do one person, a one-man squad on classic difficulty. It's
Oh,
like,
I don't even know how that's possible. I know it is possible, but man, that's just mental. That really is. The
Or
very
if you really
idea.
want to give them a challenge, go buy Rome or Rome 2, stick the difficulty up to hard and try and survive a campaign. It
Yeah.
cannot be done.
That's it. Yeah, I see. One of the games I've been playing recently is Gotham City Imposters, and I will cover that. I only want to talk about it a little bit because we are talking about sort of like the differences between a mental game like XCOM, which it totally is. There's no fine reactions needed in a game like that. But in a game like Gotham City Imposters, which is a first-person shooter multiplayer game, which I've been having lots of fun with, it's like I can have fun playing both games. It's just sometimes when a lot of people from one sort of demographic blast another game because it's you can die really easy in it and like I can't complete it, or that's part of learning the game. Your deaths are more problematic. You have to learn. You have to be more conservative. Take your time and win. And it's not unfair. XCOM can never be labelled as unfair.
No.
You get what you reap, what you sow.
It's just unforgiving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's brutal and unforgiving.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but
Unforgiving is the best word, I think.
Yeah, but simple games can be fun as well, as illustrated by games like Don't Starve. I mean, looking at it, it's a fairly simple premise, but it's fun because if you fuck it up, it'll kill you straight away.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, it really is. But going on the simple games that can be fun, Broforce. I'm just going to mention it briefly.
Yeah.
I've only played 4 hours.
Now,
of it. I've already
Tom,
finished-
I've got to interrupt you here. When you talk about Broforce and you're talking about it, you must flex your muscles.
Yes.
Like a bro.
You
Sorry.
Okay.
Get all manly over it.
Broforce!
There you go. That's it.
Bro!
Cool.
Bro! Anyway, my point being, I've played 4 hours of it. I've already finished the custom arcade and the camp. Well, I haven't actually finished the campaign, but it's like 4 hours worth of custom arcade. But I really, really enjoy it because it's something I can just tune in. You're just jumping around, either shooting or stashing things away, and it's
Adult Mario.
yeah, it's basically adult Mario. It's bro Mario.
Hey,
It's
what
Bro
do you know
Mario,
about
yeah.
adult
Mario
Mario is for all ages.
Or you can say marry bro. No.
Marry
no,
bro.
no.
So it's wonderfully charming, wonderfully simple, and it just goes to that part of your brain where you're just having just sinking fun into this little thing, and you're just loving it.
Yeah. Well, see, even games in the Call of Duty type genre can be fun if they've got a decent story to them.
So I love Modern Warfare. I loved it.
Yeah. Battlefield actually is a good example of that, because Battlefield is in the same kind of vein as COD, but their story is better. Therefore, in my opinion, they're the better genre of games. Whereas Call of Duty just got really fucking lazy with their storylines recently.
And they get away with it, though.
Bastards, just being generic white bastards.
People buy into it though. It's like they've managed to get a monopoly around that, which is like FIFA. They can pump a new one each year. It's not that much different, but people buy it. So
people just play multiplayer, don't they?
No, I think the majority of them do just buy it for the multiplayer, but I think that's a conversation, a very long topic, which we could talk about. Let's get back to XCOM though. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be releasing any more expansions, but this XCOM, they weren't guaranteed for it to be a total success, but it was. They took
Originally,
a risk on
they did want to try and make it a first-person shooter.
They did make a first-person shooter. I played it. It was awful.
They did afterwards, because originally they were saying it's going to be a first-person shooter, and I think the whole community of the old-school veteran gamers who played the UFO and XCOM just united and said, "You do this, we will petrol bomb every house and studio you own."
Yeah. So going forward, Matt, would you like to see another expansion or a brand new XCOM engine being made?
Ooh.
That's a question, man.
I think it'd be a new one.
Yeah,
I think a new one.
I don't think an expansion could work. I think with it, I didn't even think it needed within, but
they showed us wrong.
I think it would just have to be a whole new one.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest, I think Enemy Within filled all of the gaps.
Yeah. Would you classify the declassified game they did as a standalone game, or is that like a prequel expansion type thing?
It's a standalone game.
Is it a standalone?
I've played it. I will cover it one day, but it's
because I've played that as well. It's not too bad.
I thought it was garbage, but we'll get into that as it goes on. But like with XCOM, you say that a brand new one being made. What could they improve on for this one? We all said we all love XCOM, Enemy Unknown, and obviously the DLC, the expansion, Enemy Within. What would you like to see if they could do anything? Of course they could do something, but would you like to see like increased squad size?
No,
you want to keep it?
I would say yes.
I think up to 8.
Squad.
I'd love to see 8 on a bigger battlefield. That's my preference.
Yeah.
But I can understand.
Maybe 8, and then you could just essentially do with 8. You could sort of break it into 2 fire teams of 4.
I would like to see a co-op campaign.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That way you could, if you were doing 8, you could split it into 2 teams of 4, and that way you can play, you're still playing turns, but that way you can talk to your people. Maybe, I don't know how you do it in terms of the base building, but I'd love to have some sort of way that you can play co-op against an enemy team in XCOM. There's been loads of times thinking, I want to play with Matt, I want to play Tom, I want to play Chris, I want to play Morgan, all these other people, but I don't want to go against them. I would love it if we can combine our efforts and talk about different strategies about how we take on these teams. That's what I want to see in the next one, personally.
Like
what would you prefer?
Armageddon.
Huh?
Like on Worms.
Yeah, it was sort of, yeah.
Everyone loves Worms.
Yeah.
Actually,
they could come up with,
Icarus, doesn't it? I think people prefer co-op rather than competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do because we love each other.
Yeah.
I was going to ask though, do you think that if the teams were increased to 8, that would actually make the game slow down too much?
That's a good point, actually.
From a turn-based perspective, I probably agree.
The flow of the game is pretty good, especially with the new iteration. But I think 8, it would be okay, but only they have to really. I think if you put 8, it's really important then that they nail the battlegrounds, the maps that you fight on. Because if they do that wrong and they make it too big, there could be large spaces of you just not finding the aliens and actually attacking them. So I understand what you're saying, but I think you can do 8. They just need to nail the map design if they were to do that.
Yes.
But I mean, you saying there, Matt, that you would prefer them to stay with 6, and I completely understand why you would think that. Do you think then that it's not something they can do if they were to go up to 8 as a squad size? Do you think that they can't really make the maps then to work with it anyway? You don't? Do you think?
No, they could.
Okay.
All right then.
If they went for 8, they could work with 8.
Yeah.
I think it's just a personal preference. I'm quite liking the 6.
Yeah.
And I think as Hayley put, it's like adding 2 more people onto it, it could add to that time. I mean, Tom, you mentioned earlier it's like a game of chess, and you'll sit and wait there and just like, I don't know how to play this. I don't know how to. if I do this, someone's going to die, sort of thing. And you think and you worry about it, and you put the time in before you've even made a move.
Yeah.
And I think to add another 2 people onto your team would then obviously add to that. But I'm not saying it would be a bad thing, because then you could go for a bigger scale.
Yeah, bigger scale of battle each time. Maybe if they make it so you don't, maybe the scales of each battle are bigger and longer, but you don't have to do as many battles to complete a campaign. So they knock a few off. So like you're still getting more time out of it. It's just that each battle has more significance.
Yeah.
Maybe along those lines.
Yeah.
The one thing,
it'd be a good idea if they like kind of like refine the mechanic a little bit, really.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I just read a quick review on it, and it's like XCOM hates you. XCOM wants you dead, and XCOM will see you dead over and over again.
It
That
will.
sounds about right.
Sounds about right. The one thing I would like as an extra, because I mean I thought about this a lot, especially thinking of recording, the series, is that I kind of dislike the fact that there's only 3 stages really of the tech tree. You basically go from basic weapons to laser then to plasma. I probably would like to go for maybe 5, maybe add 2 extra, maybe to go in between those 2 sections.
Yeah.
Maybe you just pick a particular route to go.
Yeah. So maybe you have to sacrifice maybe one part of your tech tree to really go into one other part. I don't know how they go around that, and obviously that's balancing. And I know that a large part of XCOM is making sure that the balancing is correct. Yeah, it's hard, but it's completable. It's doable.
I think there's no point, considering a lot of it goes into the skills and capabilities of your soldiers.
Yeah.
If you do multiple weapons choices, I think that could be quite interesting, because it can affect the balance as well. Because say if the aliens specialize in defense against lasers, so you go for plasmas, but then later on you find they specialize against plasmas, and
different armors that defend against.
Like
different armors that defend against different attacks. So maybe you.
Yeah, rather than right, I've got lasers. Everyone's taking lasers. I don't need bullets anymore.
Yeah,
exactly. That could really make it interesting.
Yeah. So if they do almost like, I've been watching a Final Fantasy X Let's Play, and a lot of that is about obviously a large bit about Final Fantasy, which is weird to kind of stick this with XCOM, but it's like, okay, this character is a fire character. If I cast Blizzard on it, it will do double damage. So like if you've got like a alien that maybe is made up of plasma, and maybe it has a different thing. So maybe you outfitting your soldiers with just the top damage isn't the way to go, because you'll come across these aliens that are weaker maybe against actual different weapons that you may have already think were worthless, but now you totally need them to really do a lot of damage. Maybe that might be an extra stage of the sacrificial gameplay that kind of goes along XCOM, that you have to make a choice and you have to live by those choices whether you die or succeed by them, sort of thing. So
yeah,
lots of things I think they can improve on anyway.
I'd like to see them improve the aerial combat as well.
Oh, that's bugged to shit. They need to fix that.
Not so much bugged to shit, it's just very simple and boring.
You try moving. I don't know how much multiplayer you've played on. How much you've tried to get a floater around in some of the multiplayer maps?
No. I'm talking about the jets.
Oh yeah, well the floaters are just as bad. They really are.
Oh, the jets. It's just pointless. It's just like send a jet.
Yeah, I want to see more with that.
But you can get more than that. You can do your little, he's always going to hit for the next 2 shots and dodge and evasion and things like that. But no, I think a lot the game isn't about shooting it down. It's dealing with the ground, dealing with it once it's down. Yeah.
And you can get through the game without actually having to use like aerial flight. It's just a bit of a shame that part of the gameplay is a little bit tarnished. It's just really poxy to get around, unfortunately. So there is that. There's a little bit of a downer, but I would heavily recommend XCOM. I actually got XCOM really, really cheap when it got initially launched. I mean, when I say cheap, probably about €15, which would be cheaper over where you guys are. And I got Enemy Within for €6, so I got the whole package for just over 20. So I would heavily recommend it. There's hours and hours and hours in this game. If you want a game that is a turn-based strategy, which there aren't many around in terms of how the way XCOM do it, I would firmly recommend this game.
See, I'm now on 104 hours.
Yeah,
I'm on 98 hours, I think, last I checked, and I actually picked mine up from 50% off on a Steam sale, and I do not regret it.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's beautifully brutal, I think is probably the best way to describe it. It's you live and die by your choices, and if you love that sort of thing, then XCOM is one of the best games out there to do that with. So.
Oh yeah,
it's on PC and consoles as well. I originally had it on the console, but
it's also on Android. PC. I didn't even know this. It came out on Android back in April.
Oh wow! Awesome. I would recommend it on Steam though, personally.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd recommend it on anything.
It's fine on consoles. I've played it on consoles as well. I just recommend it on Steam. That's just the way.
Well, yeah, I've got it on a console, so I've got it on my 360. So
It runs all right, doesn't it? It's just
yeah.
After playing the pair of them, I think those with most games, if especially with a turn-based strategy game anyway, sometimes they just run a little bit better on a PC, and I would say XCOM is that, but it's perfectly playable on a console.
I think it needs the mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
mouse
XCOM
makes
it does well on consoles, which a lot of strategy games just can't.
Yeah. Games like Civilization Revolution run really well on there as well. Some games they obviously built to accommodate console. XCOM I think is one of them, but it is primarily a PC game. So, is there anything else that you want to cover with XCOM, no, Matt? Or have you covered everything with?
It is amazing.
Before we go off, it will explain your most crushing XCOM death.
Well, my most crushing XCOM death, that was actually when I first played it and everything fell apart and I named it after like all the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was fetching up against, it was a mission just before the sectoid, so it was before everything really went bad. But I was playing it through and I thought, I'm going to get cocky. I'm just going to go balls out and annihilate everyone. It did not go well. I got my ass handed to me by that game. It was just like, yeah, we're going to fucking murder you. And I got arse raped by sectoids.
Wow. Probed,
yeah.
Some would say.
Yeah, I got probed by the little grey dudes, and it was completely out of the blue as well. I did not expect to get like my ass handed to me, but no, they just took my guys apart. Like all my really high up dudes just gone in an instant.
You could say that they ate your bones and your skin. As a certain little
Harry style.
Yeah, right. My most brutal XCOM death is recorded, and it isn't Matt's one, although that was brutal. It was when pretty much everyone on my team died. And I might put links to that particular video because it's abusive how bad things went. But I had my character on there. He got killed. He was one of my top snipers. I had you, Chris, and Tom were in it. And I think you two were the only two that survived. Everyone else on my team died, and I had to extract you out without actually, defeating the aliens. I had to retreat, so I lost the mission. And it was one of the missions where you have to respond to like one of their attacks. So I lost immediately. I went from 0. You're fine. This country likes you. To we fucking hate you, and we're not going to ever think about supporting the XCOM project again. We're out like immediately. And I was like, oh god. So yeah, that's my most crushing XCOM kill. What about you, Matt?
I think my most crushing death was unfortunately. Do you know the map which is like a petrol station?
Yeah.
I had one. I think it's the one that I remember the most. Which was a Colonel Assault Trooper up against a wall, full cover, yes. 2 Muton elites decide to turn up. One chucks a grenade, the cover is gone.
Oh no!
Plasma heavy, bang, 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 just dead. I was just like, not even like is bleeding out, it's just gone.
Yeah, just gone like that. Do you ever feel they're going to do those adverts that they do for, for like the charities? It's like where every time I click my fingers, there's someone going without food. It's like every time I click my fingers, someone in XCOM has died.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's about right.
All right, Tom, your most crippling XCOM defeat.
It was my second playthrough through the alien base. I left my sniper up on top of the platform. The rest of my team was going forwards. The sectoid commander took control of the sniper.
Oh no!
No! Two supports and my assault trooper, so I couldn't even capture the sectoid commander and make him pay for it in the back rooms.
Yay.
So he had the aerial advantage of you and everything. Oh wow! You got to hand it to the AI there for totally messing your entire plan up.
Yeah.
Oh, very brutal.
I think you win
late plans of mice and men and all that crap.
And with that betrayal, I think we're out of here, guys. I think we've been talking for over 2 hours about video games in the inaugural episode. Is that all you had to talk about XCOM? Or can I wrap up there, Matt?
I think we can wrap up there.
Beautiful, guys.
That's it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for catching us this week. We've talked about Guns of Icarus, Amnesia, Dark Descent, Tropico 5, and XCOM. Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within, the two. And we had Tom here, We had Chris, who you can check his YouTube channel out. We had Hayley, we have Matt and myself. You can check out any of the links below of stuff that we've talked about. And we'll be back again next week, maybe with a few other kittens. We might have a few of the ones here this week coming back to talk about more games. And if you did enjoy the podcast, subscribe to the channel. You'll get one every single Tuesday. So apart from that, guys, we hope that you enjoyed it. And we'll catch you again next week.
Yep, see you later.
See you around.
See you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.